3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to another week and a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and of course, as always, streaming on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in, 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. What a day yesterday it was in the golf world. Steve Sands from the Golf Channel, he's going to join us coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll also be joined by Chael Sonnen, who does a great job. The former UFC fighter was all over the UFC 314 coverage in Miami, as that ended up being an epic card for the UFC with Volkanovski. And then also you got to see Paddy Pimblett just absolutely destroy Michael Chandler. So we'll talk to Chael coming up 40 minutes from now. Steve Sands from the Golf Channel will join us at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific time. But let's start with the golf. We'll sprinkle in some Nico Iamaleava now leaving Tennessee, and we are 10 days away from the NFL draft, so we'll squeeze in some golf and some NFL conversation as well. But we start off with the Masters. What a sensational Sunday that was. And if you're about drama, if you're about the theatrics of what sports is about, yesterday really gave you everything that you wanted. So you go into that Masters Sunday, and you had two big-time names right at the top of the leaderboard, with Rory McIlroy having a 2-stroke lead over Bryson DeChambeau. And I walked into Sunday thinking to myself, if you put a gun to my head, Rory with the 2-stroke lead or Bryson DeChambeau to get the job done, I was going to take Bryson. Because Bryson, to me, the last 2 years or so, has really changed his public perception and his public image. He went from being a guy that we knew could hit the ball a million miles far, but also he was someone years ago that didn't have the best personality. And he got in his own head with the whole incident with Brooks Koepka, and he didn't treat the fans well, and he was really insufferable and unlikable. To see the transformation of Bryson DeChambeau with what he does on YouTube, the way that he interacts with the fans, the fact that he actually has a heart and a soul, and he showcases his personality, I would have thought that Bryson would have been ready for the moment. But not only was Bryson not ready to go win his first ever green jacket, he got a gift handed to him early too, where the tournament clearly was not over after the first hole on Sunday. But with that being said, you had Rory McIlroy up 2 strokes. Rory McIlroy, who hasn't won a major championship since 2014, has never won at Augusta. All the pressure, all the attention is on Rory McIlroy. And let's be real, Rory McIlroy is tight and he's tense, and he starts off his round with the double bogey, Bryson pars, and you're squared even. Where the 2-stroke deficit that Bryson DeChambeau was looking at is now dead even. But then to see what was going to happen after that, how Bryson was not ready for the moment. Bryson crumbled. Bryson looked human on the golf course compared to his normal robotic self where he just hits the ball so far and you're like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm in awe of what I'm seeing. But we were situated in a point in this tournament where not only it looked like Rory was going to win, it looked like Rory, who was up 3 or 4 strokes, was going to run away with it. And then Rory splashes, and Rory McIlroy at one point, he was dead even with Ludwig Åberg, Justin Rose, and then obviously himself. And then he was quickly able to regain that lead, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, he's going to find a way to survive, and he's going to find a way to get the green jacket, and he's going to find a way to complete the career Grand Slam. And how many times yesterday did you look at your TV when you were watching this at Augusta and you said to yourself, Rory's going to choke, Rory's going to win, Rory's going to choke, Rory's going to win, Rory's going to choke, Rory's going to win. It was a never-ending roller coaster ride of emotion for one Rory McIlroy, who through the entirety of it, he looked as tight and tense that one could be, and you felt like the green jacket was literally slipping out of his hands. And then we take you to 18, where on 18, how many times have you seen Rory McIlroy, and this isn't Stu golfing, this isn't Samter golfing, this isn't Zach Gelb golfing, we miss a 5-foot putt, so be it, right? It happens. That's on automatic. But a 5-foot putt for a golfer in the class and realm that Rory McIlroy is should pretty much be automatic. And he misses those 5-foot putts like all the time. But he's on 18. The graphic shows on CBS for the career Grand Slam for a guy that has not won a major championship since 2014. He's not only going for of his first major championship since 2014, it was to complete the career Grand Slam. And the ball wasn't even in the same zip code, it looked like, as the hole. He missed it, then had to hit the next putt, and you get Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy in a playoff. And let's be real. When you were going to that playoff, you have to think Justin Rose is winning. Because Justin Rose, who had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 birdies on a final master round Sunday. And I know he was waiting, right? He was practicing because he had the electric end on 18 to put himself in contention. He was on the verge of completing a two-part story. One would be one of the greatest comebacks we've ever seen in golf, where we got to see him open up the tournament as your leader. Chris Oliveira, one of our bosses here, he popped out in the newsroom on Thursday. He was glued to the golf, and he said to me, "Oh, good to see Justin Rose at the top of the leaderboard." I go, whoever usually leads after day one usually doesn't win this tournament. And to be fair, heading into Sunday, he was 5 under, right? 5 under, nice honorable showing, but he wasn't expected to win. I didn't think we were going to have a Masters Sunday where we were going to be discussing Justin Rose. It seemed like going into the day, it was going to be Rory up against Bryson. And then Bryson just quickly faded. And once Rory, who kept on having the victory in his hands, and then he just kept on throwing it away, it opened up the door for a little bit for Ludwig Åberg. You then also got to see Patrick Reed, even with a late eagle, make a late push. But Justin Rose, just birdie after birdie after birdie, and 10 of those birdies, out of the 10 birdies he had on a Sunday, 8 of them came from hole 7 and on. So this was an unbelievable finish for Justin Rose, and you get to the playoff hole, and you get to 18, and you replay 18, and I'm thinking to myself, Justin Rose has all the momentum. Justin Rose should win this. But finally, Rory McIlroy, who had a few eagles in this tournament, right? He had his biggest moment. And he called it the most rewarding moment and the best day of his golf career. Because on 18, after Justin Rose already found the green, and he had a chance at a birdie putt, but it probably wasn't going to be likely, Rory McIlroy hits an incredible shot and puts it so close to the jar. And then finally, Rory made the putt that won him the championship. It is wild. Just explaining this in the last 9 minutes, I could take you 10 different ways, and we could talk about 9,000 different things of storylines from that Sunday at Augusta. But the coolest part and the lasting memory, and I'm not even the biggest Rory McIlroy fan in the world, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe it's because I'm a Tiger guy, and Tiger was my first true golf love. And then Rory, right, when he really did rise, he was the guy that was going to challenge Tiger, and he won those 4 major championships. So probably part of that is just natural rivalries, why I always did like Tiger, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Rory. And then Rory had a great stretch of popularity for me when he basically told Live Golf, when we cared about the PGA Tour and Live Golf, to go screw and basically go bleep off. But then it was almost just clear that the PGA just took great advantage of Rory McIlroy. But with what happened last year, the 11 years it's been since winning a major championship, and then on Sunday, with all the eyes and all the pressure on you, to see someone rise and fall, rise and faceplant, get back up off the ground, faceplant again, get back up off the ground, about to get the green jacket, stub your toe, and then find a way to take that green jacket and run into the clubhouse with it, and not only get your first ever green jacket, but also complete the career Grand Slam, and then see him immediately collapse when that putt went in, and the emotion just coming out of his body, and the tears, right, it was probably a lot relief and tears of joy too. It was a very cool moment to see. And I understand, right, you could say, Zach, he already had 4 major championships. So if he didn't win another major championship, he's still going to go down as one of the all-time great golfers. There would have been a yeah, but though. Because Rory's only 35. But how long he's been in the public spotlight, it's nuts that he's only 35. Right? Like, that's something that makes you just say, oh, hold on, wait a second one more time. But for him to, with how close he's been since 2014, to get that moment, and it also not just be, right, like if he would have won the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship or the Open Championship, it would have been, yeah, awesome. Rory won his first major since 2014, but he doesn't have the green jacket. But he doesn't have the career Grand Slam. To have those two moments line up, where he wins his first major championship since 2014, and it also happens at Augusta, it makes the frustrations, it makes the choke jobs that he's had through the years, through the last 10, 11 years, be oh so worth it and oh so sweet. Because I know a lot of people, right? Alex Myers joined us on Thursday, and he said this is the best chance Rory has at winning the Masters. You know, I would hear those things, and I'd be like, yeah, I kind of will believe it when I see it. Because I've been through this road before where Rory's getting hyped up, and Rory, we're told, is going to win, and then he just doesn't deliver. But with how many ups and downs, and this was a roller coaster ride, that you're going up and then you get to the top and it flips you upside down, and then you come down and then you go back up and it flips it upside down and you go back down and you back up. To see him end on the top of the mountain yesterday with the green jacket in hand, even though I'm not the biggest Rory McIlroy fan on this planet, it was pretty neat. It was pretty cool. And that image, right, not only puts him in a special category, in a special fraternity, an elite fraternity in the golf world, being one of 6 players to ever complete the career Grand Slam on the men's side, right? Like, that's unbelievable. That goes without being said. But that's still one of the greatest monkey off your back moments that you'll ever see. And I know some will say, oh, but he's won major championships before. But think about the pressure. And think about how many people doubted him, including me, gave up on Rory, right, completing the career Grand Slam. And, right, a lot of people saying, oh, he'll win another major championship, but it probably won't be at Augusta. Think of all those emotions and all those things that were said. And to have those moments line up with him not only winning his first major championship since 2014, but it being at Augusta, it will go down as one of the iconic monkey off your back moments in the history of sports. That's how special it was yesterday. And also, how many times with golf do we say, oh, we wish we would see some emotion. We wish we would see these golfers be human. We wish we could see them be humanized a little bit and not take it so seriously and not be so tight and not be so tense. And I'm watching yesterday, and every moment where Rory was failing, because it wasn't the greatest round of golf, obviously, that he's ever played. I'm sitting there going, he just can't deal with the pressure. For a guy that's been in the spotlight his entire life, he can't deal with this attention at this golf course and what is on the line. And it's almost like that commercial where they on the fishing rod throw down the dollar bill and then pull it back up. That's what it's been like for him at major championships and also at Augusta. And even though it didn't look like he was going to latch on to that green jacket, in the playoff hole on that second shot where he sets himself up perfectly, he was able to finally get that moment, and the outpour of emotion was so cool. And I'm not saying I didn't expect him to be happy. I'm not saying I didn't expect him to lose his mind. But with how tense and tight he was all throughout the day and how many times he had the green jacket flash right before his eyes and then disappear, I really didn't think we were going to get this moment. And him immediately collapsing, it's one of those images that you're going to remember. Like when I was watching it yesterday, it kind of felt like, and I know LeBron already had 2 championships at that point, but how LeBron came back down 3-1 up against the Warriors and immediately fell and had the Cleveland "this is for you" moment, because that was the most important championship of LeBron's career. For Rory McIlroy, that's kind of my comparison, right? This was the most important championship of Rory's career, because not only does it give him his first green jacket, it completes the career Grand Slam, and it's already a guy that's so established. It's already an all-time great golfer. But this one meant something so much more. Just like how for LeBron, yeah, winning the 2 championships was nice in Miami, right? But it meant so much more for winning it in Cleveland. And that was going to be for LeBron, whether it was success or not, in Cleveland when he returned, was could he win a championship? For Rory, even though he'd already be considered an all-time great golfer, just like how LeBron would have been considered an all-time great basketball player, this makes him whole, right? This is the missing thing that was on his resume, and he fulfilled it yesterday in what was a crazy day, the roller coaster ride for Rory McIlroy, the ups and the downs, and it did not look like he was going to win several times, but for him to find a way, this makes him whole now as a golfer, because you complete the career Grand Slam and you do something that most of us thought you were never going to do, and that was win at Augusta, which has been a house of horrors for you. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. Chael Sonnen is going to join us coming up in 30 minutes from now at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time. We will recap UFC 314 with him. But when we return, an interesting development with Nico Iamaleava. And what we thought was going to happen at the end of the week last week has now drastically changed. Where will Nico Iamaleava land next? We'll give you a thought or two on that when the Zach Gelb Show continues in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
I am usually pro-player with how often the player was screwed in college athletics. But with what has transpired, as it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network with Nico Iamaleava from last week until now, it's almost like Nico Iamaleava played himself. Sometimes you think you know what you're doing in life, right? Sometimes you're adamant. Sometimes you make a controversial decision and you make you make a move that is not popular. And then there's a little voice that goes off in your head that eventually quickly tells you, uh-oh, what did I do to myself? But when the toothpaste is already out of the tube, it's extremely tough to put that toothpaste back in the tube. And I think what's going on here, and this is where I don't have sympathy for Nico Iamaleava, because I got to be fair here. I got to be consistent. Once again, I'm for NIL. I'm for the transfer portal. I think there's things that have to be cleaned up. But as I've said numerous times, when you go to college, college is about making decisions. Some of the decisions are going to be right and some are going to be wrong, and you're going to learn from those mistakes. I am all for players having the ability to leave if they don't want to be there. I'm all for the ability for players to legally be making the most amount of money possible. But when you put money into this situation and you have the freedom to transfer so easily, and in the college football schedule, you have opportunities to leave twice in a calendar year, you're going to have kids that are going to have voices in their head, and they're going to have other people in their ear, and they're going to sometimes make the wrong decision. And in this case, with Nico Iamaleava, who had a fine season last year, right? He was good. He was solid, but he left you wanting more. He had a strong start. It was a little sloppy in the middle, had a decent finish, a good finish, some moments at the end of the year. And then in the playoff game, him and the Tennessee program, right? And they weren't all that fantastic up against Ohio State. So for Nico Iamaleava, and now since this is such a contentious situation, people are going to talk. People are going to slander his name, and more is going to come out. But you made your bed. Now you got to lie in it. And I'm not saying that Nico Iamaleava, if he thinks he's worth more, shouldn't go fight to go get more money. But there were lists that were made before we knew any of this that were going on. And just because you make a list doesn't mean that it's right. But there was a list, 2 weeks ago, I remember we talked about it, top 10 quarterbacks entering this college football season, and Nico Iamaleava wasn't on it. So from what I gather, and who knows with NIL, what numbers are true and what aren't, but he was making about $2 million to be at Tennessee. 2.5. He wanted 4. So in the last week, from the things that I've read, I guess he told his offensive coordinator that he was probably going to hit the portal. So if you tell your OC maybe that he thinks that he's doing right by the university and he's telling them and he doesn't got to talk to anybody else, how do you not have a conversation with your head coach? And I know Tennessee's not going to paint him in the best of light, but for this to be a situation where he doesn't show up to spring practice and there's a great unknown of what was going to happen right before their spring game, and it's like, oh, what's going to go on with Nico Iamaleava? And then Tennessee basically took their program back and said, we're not playing these games. We know you're hitting the portal, so go. But for Nico Iamaleava, when you hit the portal, especially with how much tampering goes on, and right, let's not be foolish here and don't think that a kid just hits the portal and then all these schools come calling and then that's when they start having the conversations. It's like the legal tampering period in the NFL. You know when you could start to talk. You don't think conversations happen before that? Because how can deals be agreed upon verbally the moment the legal tampering window opens a second in? Use your brain here, folks. It's because agents talk to the teams. It's because tampering goes on. And the same thing happens here with the transfer portal window when it opens up that Nico Iamaleava, you would think, already has a deal done somewhere. But that's the thing. I don't believe that this was as clear and obvious as what it should have been. And there's a rumor out there. We don't know if it's true or not. But supposedly, Nico's father was shopping him around, or Nico's camp was shopping him around, and Dan Lanning called up Josh Heupel. Remember, Dan Lanning, Oregon Big Ten. He was like, hey, just so you know, Josh, people in Nico's camp are coming to me asking me about Nico. So a big sentiment on Thursday or Friday when this stuff came out, right? I thought to myself, and maybe I was naive because I didn't realize how ugly this was at the time and how much we didn't know. I sat there and I said, well, if he's making $2.5 million, we all know how much the SEC loves their football. Doesn't some booster, doesn't someone running the collective, they find a way to go get him another $1.5 million or $2 million? Like, how hardline is it just to get to $4 million? Can you get in the ballpark where he'll be content with that? And obviously, Tennessee, I'm not saying they couldn't have done it, but they didn't want to do it. So I think Nico thought maybe two things. One, which is starting to be less and less likely. I think he believed that he would just be able, in a snap of a finger, be able to get the $4 million from Tennessee or somewhere else. Now, he's not getting that from Tennessee. But you want to know how you already lost this? Because the first article that I saw, potential destinations for Nico Iamaleava, people mentioned Oregon. Now we know that's not happening. People mentioned Notre Dame. If we're being honest, Notre Dame was just in the national championship game. You got Jeremiah Love, right, the running back. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, hey, if you go to Notre Dame and you're Nico Iamaleava, it's not a bad situation. But now supposedly Notre Dame isn't interested in Nico Iamaleava because of the price tag. I think they were paying, I read somewhere online, $1.5 million for Riley Leonard. So if $1.5 million went to Riley Leonard, and quite frankly, I'd rather have Nico Iamaleava than Riley Leonard, and I think there's more upside with him, I don't think you're getting from 1.5 to 4. And remember, he was already making, supposedly, from what we know, 2 at Tennessee. So this is one of those situations where it goes from over the weekend. I read one article that's like speculating Oregon and Notre Dame. And then I see a graphic today, which is just a sad graphic. Like, I understand Tennessee hasn't been the greatest football program in the last 15 to 20 years. It's still good old Rocky Top. It's still in the SEC. And just a disclaimer for people that don't know, because this is a spring transfer portal window, he can't transfer this go around to another SEC school. So all the SEC schools are out the window. But the graphic today from On3 Sports, when it was like the latest intel on Tennessee's transfer quarterback Nico Iamaleava, here are the 3 teams: Tulane, UCLA, and UNC. If Nico Iamaleava, and I know Tulane's, progressed as a football program, but if he goes from Tennessee to Tulane, we know it's all about the money, but how much money is Tulane going to be able to get you? And if you tell me you go from Tennessee to UCLA, that's a downgrade. Now, selfishly with what we do, I would like to see him go to UNC because you got Belichick there, and Belichick needs a quarterback. But I just read right before we got on the air for this segment, this is on 3 Sports, because UNC has been that projected team now. That's been the hot team today for Nico Iamaleava. This is from On 3 Sports. Intel. Bill Belichick will be a known buyer in the quarterback market this spring, as Pete Nakos reports that Iamaleava's asking price of $4 million could be too much for North Carolina. So you're leaving the SEC. You're leaving the SEC because I guess Tennessee was giving you $2 million. You wanted $4 million. You can't go to another SEC school. And is UNC, is UCLA, is Tulane going to give you what you wanted? This is just clear what's going on here. This is a kid, right, who now is in a professional world, even though it's amateur sports. And I say that in air quotes if you're not watching us on YouTube. And he's listening to his old man, and his old man isn't looking out for the best interest of his son. And if that's the priority, just go get the most amount of money possible, I'm all for that. But are you doing what's the best for the growth and the development of Nico Iamaleava as a football player? Because leaving Tennessee and right now basically having no plan, if you don't land at Oregon, which it doesn't seem like you are, or Notre Dame, it's going to be tough to spin this in a good way. And who even knows if you do land at UNC or UCLA or Tulane, that's not better football. Let's be clear. It's not better football. It's not a tougher environment. It's not better competition for you. but you're probably not even going to get more money or that much more money than you would have got if you would have stayed at Tennessee. And I read an article via The Athletic. Some at Tennessee believe that Iamaleava's decision is not his own, but that he's following his father's lead in pursuing the most financially lucrative landing spot with less regard for the fit on the football field or the timing of his exit. Iamaleava will have to learn a new offense and gain the trust of a coaching staff and roster with just a month of practice in preseason camp, a rarity within the sport. Here's what I would say to Nico Iamaleava. You're your own man now. I'm not saying you can't use your parents as a resource, right? I've used my parents to bounce things off of them from time to time. But still, ultimately, my parents will say some things that I like and I agree with, some things that I think they disagree with, and they don't understand what I do necessarily now. And that's coming from someone that has a dad in the radio business because of how much the business has changed. And ultimately, I make my own decision. I'm not saying don't use your parents as a resource. I love my parents. I use them as a resource all the time. I bounce ideas off them all the time. But ultimately, their opinions are slanted one way. They see things one way. And I think when you make a decision, you talk to multiple people in your family, outside your family, in the sport, outside the sport, and then you have to make your own decision. It seems here, though, that Nico Iamaleava is letting his dad make every decision for him, and it is backfiring in an enormous way. You're going from Tennessee to now it looks like neither Oregon or Notre Dame wants anything to do for you. Who even knows if you're going to make more money to do what? Link up with Bill Belichick? And we don't know how Bill Belichick's going to be in college. I believe he's going to be successful, but is he going to have more success than Tennessee? Probably not. You're then going to what? Go to UCLA? Tulane? Come on. Like, what are we doing here? This just doesn't make any sense. And this is why we need more rules and we need more structure in college football. And you have 2 transfer portals. I think that's too many. I would just have 1. And also, I wouldn't allow any of this stuff to go on in season. And when you make the college football playoff, this stuff goes on in season. I'll play the audio later, but Josh Payton does a great job. Josh Payton's college football show, and one of the best voices in college football, he was saying that Nico Iamaleava and others were trying to get raises in the middle of the playoff, and they almost didn't even play in their playoff game up against Ohio State. Like, none of this makes any sense. And once again, I am pro players getting paid. I'm all for the transfer portal, but there's got to be some more. There got to be some rules here. There got to be some regulations here. And also, Nico Iamaleava, you can make your own damn decision. I'm not saying don't use your father, but your father is ruining your college football career right now. And maybe your pro career too, because you were fine last year. You weren't great. Let's be real about that too. A lot of lists even have you top 10 entering this season as a college quarterback. All righty, we'll take a timeout. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Chael Sonnen's going to join us on the other side. He was all over the UFC 314 coverage. We will recap UFC 314 with Chael when we return. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. The Suns are looking for a coach for the 3rd straight season, firing Mike Budenholzer after 1 year. Phoenix was non-competitive, 36-46, finishing 11th in the Western Conference, despite having stars Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal on the highest payroll in the sport. The New Orleans Pelicans wasted no time after their 20-win season, firing head of basketball operations David Griffin. In his 6 seasons on the job, they went to the playoffs twice and lost in the first round both times. The WNBA draft takes place tonight with the Dallas Wings holding the number 1 pick, and they'll use it on UConn star Paige Beckers. 8-time Pro Bowler Patrick Peterson announced his retirement after 13 seasons. The first 10 were spent in Arizona, followed by stints in Minnesota and Pittsburgh. The Padres have the best record in baseball at 13-3 and open a series tonight against the Cubs. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break.
4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
UFC 314 was bleeping awesome in Miami, and the coverage was excellent of it as well. I enjoyed the commentary from Chael Sonnen and he's kind enough to join us right now. Chael, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this, and how you been?
How have I been? I'm still famous and I'm still rich. I mean, every day is kind of a good day, not for nothing.
I absolutely love that. Paddy Pimblett, there's times I watch him, I can't stand him, and then a moment like what happened up against Michael Chandler, who I like, it makes me gain a lot of respect towards him because people keep on downing him and he keeps on proving people wrong. I think his image has really changed the last 2 years since the Flash Gordon fight, which I still thought he shouldn't have won. But what's your view now of Paddy Pimblett? Because I'm starting to become a fan.
First off, you and I share a brain. Like everything that you just said right there, I have said or thought. So let me just tell you my personal experience. I thought Paddy was in a little over his head. When he comes out and he not only beats Chandler, but he beats Chandler at his own game. He gets on top and he pounds out Michael Chandler. There's a real wow moment. And there's even a time to tell a guy, hey, I had this one wrong. Well, Paddy happens to come up where I'm at. He gives me a hug. He's very gracious. You never know how a guy's going to treat you when you've been on the calling against him all week. But I did think he was a little overmatched. He couldn't have been more of a gentleman, which is not what I thought. He had a very sweet tone. The first thing he does is he checks in and wants to ask me how my family's doing.
Wow.
Like he's limping to set. He's the fighter of the night. They are chanting his name, and I don't know him. We meet, and he wants to know, how's your family doing? I mean, I will just tell you, you look at a guy differently when a guy does something like that. And he was hurt, by the way, Zach. I mean, he was limping. His face was busted up. That was an absolute bludgeoning both ways. And Paddy the Baddy, because you meet some guys that are bullies, they can only give it. Paddy gave it as well as he took it.
Absolutely. At his apex, because I still think people are trying to figure out what he could be as a fighter. And as we said, Saturday, it moves the pendulum in a big way. And now people are wondering how big this could get. At his absolute best, what do you think Paddy Pimblett could go on to accomplish in the UFC?
Interesting, right? Because like the comparison out there is Conor McGregor. Can Paddy be a box office draw like Conor? And that's hard to imagine. Conor transcended cultures. He went into movies and people followed him over to movies. That's a very rare and hard thing to do. But the UFC only plays certain venues. I mean, Paddy's going to have a shot at MSG the same as Conor did. Conor sold out MSG, but I'm telling you now, so will Paddy. So then you start to just have box office draw. Who could move more T-shirts? I mean, what kind of staples are we going to put in place to start judging these two? But yes, Paddy the Baddy is a bona fide star. He is a box office draw. Dana White could book him and sell out any arena in the world, and there's probably only 5 guys in history you could say that about.
And we know he's always had the entertainment factor. You go into a Paddy Pimblett fight, the entertainment factor's there, but now it's nice to see the entertainment factor being met with what goes on in the octagon.
Yeah. And hey, well said. Again, that's the thing we didn't know. I thought this was a regional kid. He's got a weird haircut. He says something funny into the microphone. He can sell some tickets kind of around England. He's not a main eventer, but you do things right and you can make a few dollars with him. That's not true. This is a legitimate title contender. We don't know what Paddy's going to do next or who his next opponent will be, but there is a consensus that whatever is next for Paddy, he's one away from a world title shot. Whatever Paddy does next, if it goes his way, he will be fighting for the belt. And I can't sit here right now, Zach, and assure you that he's not going to win that damn belt.
Chael Sonnen here with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. I'm never good in terms of like what's next. Like this guy wins. Who should he fight next? When I heard the names that were getting thrown out there, Gaethje was one that was resonated with me. What's the name that maybe resonates with you the most for the next Paddy fight?
All right, so he calls Dustin Justin, meaning Gaethje and Poirier. He calls Charles for Oliveira, and he called a guy a helmet, which is an insult I had to look up. It is rather funny, frankly, called Sarukian. Now, I only want to list that because if any one of those guys wants to fight, all they got to do is go to Twitter right now. If any one of them accepts, whoever the first to accept that fight, Dana White will give him the fight, but I'm going to tell you now, none of those guys are going to accept. Like Paddy is still in that spot that's very dangerous, where he's a big mouth and he's a sportsman, but the crowd hasn't quite accepted him for the badass that the fighters are now finding out he really is. I mean, I will guarantee none of those 4 guys that got called out are going to respond. And what do you do with Paddy next? Again, the one thing that we can agree on is whatever's next will lead him into a world title fight. But I'm not willing to rule out who he calls Mr. Hand Sanitizer, Ilia Topuria. Something is going on with Ilya. You would assume an undefeated world champion would fight for a world championship, but they haven't made that announcement. And they've held that announcement for something. I'm starting to hear behind the scenes they were waiting for the outcome of Patty Chandler, and now that that's happened, let's see what happens with Ilya Topuria.
By the way, I always appreciate it doesn't matter who you're sitting next to, and it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You're always willing to stir the pot a little bit. You sitting next to Dustin Poirier and say that, hey, it could be Poirier up against Max Holloway for the final fight of Poirier. A lot has been speculated off of that. What do you actually know about the likelihood of that being Dustin's final fight?
Zach, I didn't know I was leaking inside information. Like, I'm a guy you can tell things to. I know what's secret, what hasn't been revealed. No one told me that was a secret. So I go out and I tell the world, man, it's going down in Lafayette. It's going to be Dustin's last fight. It's Max Holloway. The only thing I don't know if they're going to put up the BMF belt. Dustin comes and grabs me, tells me that he got in trouble by the UFC because they assumed that he fed me that information and then I went and leaked it. Those conversations never happened. I don't know where I got that news along the way. I'll stand by it. I'm right. All those things are happening. I'll even add to that claim. They're going to put the BMF up. It'll be Dustin's last fight. There's a chance that Dustin takes the BMF into retirement, which would retire the BMF. But as far as any of that information ever actually being told to me, I guess it wasn't. I read it somewhere. I believed it to be true. But it turns out it is. It's all true.
So you heard from Dustin. They thought Dustin was leaking that information as you were sitting next to him, maybe like in a break or something. Does Dana give you a call and says, hey, what the heck are you doing, Chael Sonnen?
No, it wasn't to me. I mean, I got it fair play. They went to Dustin, and they go, hey, what are you doing? Your partner just leaked all your scoop. Are you going to think we didn't know where that came from? I've known this for a couple of months, though. And I thought that Max had called him out. I thought that Dustin had accepted while he was working the desk at ESPN. Like, I feel like this whole story played out before us. I thought everyone knew. I thought a venue was booked and tickets were on sale. Like, I just found out that at this point is still protected information.
Wow, that's epic. Chael Sonnen here with us.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm not blabbing it to you. I already blabbed it. I didn't know it was a secret.
I love it. Diego Lopez and Volkanovski, what a fight that was. That was a brawl. It was epic. And man, really a big moment for the sport too, because some people, it felt like, and I'm a very casual UFC fan, I love it, I've become a big fan the last few years, but it seems like a lot of people that used to sell me on the UFC were kind of doubting the product. I thought the card was awesome at a great final fight.
I would not kick a man when he's down. Like, and I'm talking about Diego Lopez. I would offer a hand and get him up. But to discuss that, just what I saw Diego Lopez, who is the world's next best thing. He is the rightful number one contender. But I saw him bring a left and a right hand. Pure Western boxing he brought into a mixed martial arts fight. I can count the amount of takedowns he tried in 25 minutes on one hand because the answer is 0. I can count the submission attempts he tried in 25 minutes on one hand because it's 0. He didn't grab the fence. He didn't even kick him in the nuts. He didn't throw one elbow, one knee. He threw 3 kicks. He made it a Western boxing fight for reasons that I don't know. He's a very skilled young man, and when he goes back and watches it himself, he's going to be frustrated. And he's going to say, why didn't I bring my tools? Why didn't I bring the agreed-upon rules that they allow me to use? And I don't know why he did it, and he got picked apart because of it.
I'm Jewish, so I think it goes without being said. I love what John Silva did to Bryce Mitchell. What was your reaction on that fight, by the way?
Bro, I love that you're not afraid to talk about it because this was the elephant in the room on Saturday. Bryce made a big mistake. So we decided, like, as a group, we're going to punish him, and here's the punishment. But the one thing that we all also understood is Bryce gets the jump on Silva. It's in many ways going to vindicate a horrible moment. So there is this massive tension in the room. It might have been the most important sporting event that was going on anywhere in the world. This script had one way it could go, and it had to go the way that it did. And I will just tell you, there was some nerve-wracking points. I mean, Bryce comes out. First off, it turns out Bryce is pretty tough, but then his kickboxing looked pretty good. Silva stayed very composed, kept a game face, even as his leg was taking some shots. Ultimately, Silva beats Mitchell at his own game, which is the ultimate punishment by our industry standards. So the world is in the place that the world should be in, but I will tell you, There was a tension in that building, my friend.
What kind of tension do you mean, just wondering? It's pretty simple. Like, if you're justifying Hitler, which is what Bryce Mitchell did, I'll clean it up here. You're a jackass. That's the nicest way I could say it on the radio. What kind of tension do you mean?
Period. No, period. That's what it was. Well, so you've got a tension of people going, okay, if I cheer for Bryce, and I want to cheer for Bryce because I've chosen to believe he didn't have evil in his heart, he's a dumb hilljack. That's what some people have believed. But if I cheer for him, I could still give the perception that I'm with him, and I'm not. So it was just one of these things where things got weird. He made some apologies. Some of them were pretty heartfelt. I'll just share with you. So some people wanted to give him a benefit of a doubt. But either way, you could not openly be seen in front of people on your feet clapping as he comes out. You just can't. It was the ultimate villain role. This had to happen, and it had to happen with the knight in shining armor who happened to be called John Silva. Had got to make him pay. And the world didn't know how to discuss it. Like people, you're being as candid as anybody's been on this.
He's an a-hole. That's what I think. The guy's an a-hole, right? Like, that's not a mistake. He said what he said. There's no justifying it. The guy's a jerk.
And you got to pay. When you do things like that, there's some kind of punishment. We as a group selected this was it. And I'm just saying, there was a worry that perhaps we had the wrong guy. Perhaps Bryce could get over, and that really would have created a very socially awkward moment.
It would have, and it was the best ending possible that Silva just basically ended him, and it looked like he didn't want to stop. Anyway, Chael, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this.
By the way, Silva might have been the second performance of the night, only behind Patty. Silva really stood out. Hey, Zach, thank you. I appreciate the time. By the way, before you go, real quick, there's a joke going around. What is 6 feet tall, charming, and disappears in an instant?
Me? Chael Sonnen. That's how he ended the interview. That guy is awesome. Now, let's be real. I'm 6'4". I am charming, but I won't disappear. Well, we may disappear in about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back in 5 minutes. But that's a good job by Chael Sonnen. I thought his connection just went out, if I'm being honest there. And I'm like, oh, he jumped off the show.
When he said, I got a joke for you, I was like, uh-oh, where's the dump button?
Yeah, well, how Warren Sapp left the show compared to Chael Sonnen leaving the show. I like what Chael did right there. That was awesome. We could have had him on for another 15 minutes. I didn't even get to the stuff about Michael Chandler as well and the aftermath and how we deal with Chandler. Great stuff for Chael Sonnen. It is the Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
I love that guy, Chael Sonnen. He can come on whenever he wants. He is a tremendous guest. Great energy, good jokes, good insight. And I like when we talk about things that maybe people are uncomfortable discussing because that's what is like the whole part of the business is. Now, the fact that more and more people didn't talk about what Bryce Mitchell said, and a lot of people did when it happened, but then leading into that fight, you heard very little about it. It was good to see John Silva just kick the crap out of Bryce Mitchell. So I appreciate Chael Sonnen joining us. UFC 314 was awesome. It was. And there's some big UFC fans around here. They've been down on the product recently. I thought Pereira losing his last time out was a blow to the UFC, but I've enjoyed the sport a lot. Like what soccer is to Stu is really what UFC has become to me. Where you're late to the party, you watch something the last 4 or 5 years, and you just develop a love for it. And Stu's at like a different level with soccer. It also gets the help when the UFC's in town at the Garden or the Prudential Center. I always go there. I kind of want to go to Vegas for one of these fights too. That would be a whole lot of fun. But that card with John Silva, then seeing Chandler and Paddy Pimblett, and Chandler just got destroyed. I don't know what's next for him. And then Diego Lopez, he threw some haymakers, but Volkanovski won. It was a tremendous, and I mean a tremendous night for the UFC. And now the big question becomes, who is Paddy Pimblett going to fight next? I also was very impressed with Dominic Reyes, too, because he was not in as good a shape, it didn't look like it, as the guy that he was fighting. And he just unloaded and had a knockout. I believe it was right in the first round. So very good night for the UFC. But the UFC, that's where it's kind of been struggling, is you have guys that are incredible in the octagon, but then the personality's not there. And Paddy Pimblett's one of those guys where the personality's always been there, but can his performance in the octagon match the theatrics out of the octagon, which what he brings? And he should have lost that Flash Gordon fight. There's no doubt about it. Then he had the major injury, right? He didn't really join us. We had a conversation with him. We put some of it out there. He wasn't the best of interview. Lead up to a fight, it could happen. If I'm just being honest, after 4 minutes, I'm like, all right, Patty, I'm going to let you run. But he did tell me in that 4.5 minutes that we did get to spend with him that I cut it short. He didn't cut it short. To be clear, I cut it short. That he had 3 surgeries in a month after that ankle injury with all the complications. And then he had the birth about a year ago of 2 girls, 2 twins, and that kind of changed his life as well. But to see the way that he progressed, especially up against Ferguson and then continued in the octagon, and to culminate with Michael Chandler, who a lot of people thought Michael Chandler, right, that was a good fight for him to take. They were a little surprised when he did, because Chandler, he fights all the big names, but he doesn't usually win. But then for Pimblett to have that success up against Chandler and just smash his face in, that was a big night for Paddy Pimblett. So appreciate Chael Sonnen for joining us. But let's get back to the biggest story of the day. And it's Rory McIlroy getting the monkey off his back, won his first major championship since 2014, and he completed the career Grand Slam at Augusta, which was a place that we thought he would never win. So you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Obviously, you get your first major championship since 2014, but also you complete the career Grand Slam. So I got 2 questions here for you. Best monkey off the back moment in sports, and a current situation where someone has a monkey off their back, on their back, and we're trying to see if they could punch through and eventually get it off their back. So let's start in the history of sports, the best monkey off the back moment. I kind of pulled a Samter here, where I had 3 options, and I didn't eliminate one, so I just grouped them in. There are 3 legendary quarterbacks that for years there was that question, can they win a Super Bowl? Can they win a Super Bowl? Can they win a Super Bowl? And I don't know how to differentiate the 3. So John Elway, obviously, for years and years and years and years, it looked like it just wasn't going to happen. And then John Elway got 2 Super Bowls at the end of his career. That first one, monkey off the back. Steve Young, now he won championships because he was backing up Montana, but he didn't have one with him as the starter. And that's probably the most iconic, just because of that video that's on the sideline where he's like, rip it off my back, take it off my back. And that's just such a moment that goes down in the annals of NFL history, and it's shown each and every year when they play the Super Bowl. And also Peyton Manning, because the monkey came off his back really in the AFC Championship game, because he could never beat the Patriots in the postseason. And he lost twice to them in the playoffs. Brady already had 3, and they were down big at halftime. And Dwight Freeney told me this. Whoever won that AFC Championship game was going on to win the Super Bowl, because you're going up against Rex Grossman and the Chicago Bears. But Peyton Manning getting that first one, eventually got another one where he did not play all that well in Super Bowl 50, but Von Miller was sensational. He ended up getting 2 championships. So mine are the quarterbacks as the great get the monkey off your back moment in sports, and I don't know how you really break that tie between Peyton Manning, Steve Young, and John Elway. I guess if I had to give the tiebreaker to one, it would be Steve Young, and say, okay, you're going to prevail out of the 3 just because of the lasting video, the everlasting video that was captured and then has been showed throughout all these years on the sideline. So those are some of my more memorable monkey off the back moments in sports. Stu, who did you elect to go with? Actually, what sport did you go with first? Let me hear what sport you went with.
I went with the NBA.
You went with the NBA. Okay, what's the monkey off the back moment here for the NBA?
So mine is also a trio, and it's a moment I'm
a trend starter.
I don't love this moment, but 2008. Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, all winning their first title. They come together. All 3 high draft picks, all 3 generational talents, top 10 to 12 players of that generation. Neither of them had none of them had a championship, and then they finally got it.
Why would that moment be tough for you to recall? Just wondering.
Yeah, it was against the Lakers. It was against the Lakers. Sadly, they were no match for that Celtics team.
Yeah. Did you think, by the way, that Paul Pierce actually needed the wheelchair? Or do you buy that he just had to take a number 2?
I'm not sure if I buy that second part, but I do kind of think he might have played up the wheelchair thing a little bit to, get the crowd hyped. Kind of like the Willis Reed moment, if you will, of that series.
Yeah, I got to be careful with how I say this because I don't want to have to use the dump button, but appropriate word choice for what we're talking about with what the allegations were. Eddie House, I once asked him about this. And this was like a legendary rejoin that we had, I think, from the overnight days. So this goes back to the weekend overnight days. And I asked Eddie House about that, and I would often use it as a rejoin when I did 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, if he thought that Paul Pierce took a number 2 in his pants, and that's why he got carried off the court into the wheelchair. And he said, or he was on the verge of having to go number 2. And he said, well, if you've ever are in a situation where you needed to take a number 2, the last thing you want is the 2 people to pick you up and basically have you squat in that position in the air. So that's why he totally dismissed that there was any possibility that Paul Pierce either did go number 2 in his pants or needed to go number 2 and couldn't make it there, and that's why he needed the wheelchair. So that was the Eddie House retort. Now, that doesn't totally eliminate it. People still speculate that Paul Pierce had to take a number 2, and Paul Pierce has played into the allegations through the years, but sometimes when Paul Pierce now speaks, I don't even know if he knows what he's saying when he does say it, because allegedly there's a lot of times that Paul Pierce just likes to enjoy himself, all right? But that's a good one there, Stu, because Garnett, I was a massive KG fan growing up as a kid. I always respected Ray Allen, and I did love Paul Pierce, and that was really, everyone talks about LeBron starting the Big 3 era. Now, the way that LeBron did it, right, he made it more of a show. He took his talents to South Beach. Chris Bosh also landed there. Dwayne Wade was already there. Really, Paul Pierce being there in Boston, and then you had the 2 trades go about it that way. That's why it's probably viewed a little bit differently. But that was really what started, kind of laid the foundation. It laid the road for what LeBron did eventually to happen. And it was also very successful with it being with 1 championship, and they probably should have had 2 championships, if we're being honest. Because they were up 3-2. Perkins gets hurt, and I believe it was in that game 6. And then they don't win that game 7. And Ray Allen was god-awful, if memory serves me right, in that game 7. And Meta World Peace, actually. Remember, he hit that shot in game 7, and afterwards he's like, I like to thank my psychiatrist. One of the all-time great lines. Thanking your shrink after winning a championship. And let's remember, folks, now that's kind of normal, commonplace. Back then, I don't think mental health was accepted the way that it is now, which is a very good thing. So if you have someone that thanks your shrink now, it's not the most uncommon thing that you've ever heard. Back then, it's not that. What was that, 2011, Stu? That championship?
That last one was 2010.
2010? Yeah. Still, back then, you weren't expecting those words to be uttered by Meta World Peace. But anyway, we move on to Samter. Samter, what is yours?
I got a list. No, I got a couple that I was.
We're going grocery shopping. Do you have the blueberries and the strawberries still?
I got them both. The first one I was thinking about was Phil Mickelson, lefty. But we already did a Masters one, right? Like he went 17 top 10 finishes, 8 top 3 finishes, 3 runner-ups before he finally won the 04 Masters.
Yeah.
So I thought about that one.
I kind of still think the monkey is on his back because he hasn't won the career Grand Slam.
Sure, but that's a different monkey.
Yeah.
It's more of an orangutan, I think. Michael Jordan, right? His first 6 years, he didn't have a championship, could not get past either the Celtics or the Pistons. First, he got past the Celtics. Then 3 straight years, he lost to the Pistons before beating them and winning the first of his 6 titles. But I'm going to go with Alex Rodriguez. A-Rod, 16 years, 3 MVPs, and consistent failures in the postseason before he finally broke through for the Yankees in 2009.
That's a great one. So I ended up going with the 3 quarterbacks, John Elway, Steve Young, and Peyton Manning. Stu goes with the big 3 in Boston. And you went the big 3 in Boston, right?
Yes.
Get the monkey off the back moment for the 3 of them. It's an interesting way that you thought about it. Because there was pressure on them to win. But I don't know. Usually I feel like monkey off the back, you're in one situation for so long. You're at one tournament for so long. It's a good one. But you're right. All 3 of those guys didn't have a championship at that point.
And it's probably more Garnett than the other 2 because he was so good and he couldn't get anything
MVP
in Minnesota.
too.
Had no help for like a decade there.
Yeah. And I respect his loyalty for a while because he wanted to stay for so long. And then eventually he's like, I got to get on out of here to win a championship. And then Samter goes with A-Rod. All righty. Currently, I'll start you off, Stu. You could start us off. Who is the current athlete or team that has a giant monkey on their back and we're still waiting to see it get ripped off?
Yeah, it's Josh Allen and the Bills, and I thought it was going to be this past year. I thought they were going to be able to overcome the Chiefs and get to the Super Bowl and win it. But, I mean, Josh Allen is, at worst, the third best quarterback in the league right now, and he's up there with Mahomes and Lamar. But it's got to happen at some point, and I'm starting to get worried that, you get 2-3 more years of him not winning it. When's it going to happen? And
he's a better quarterback than Jim Kelly, but it's easy to make those kind of comparisons. And Jim Kelly got to 4 straight Super Bowls, right? And the Bills, they got to 4 straight Super Bowls and they lost. But if you're Buffalo, it's easy to say, we all know how special Josh is. I think he's the second best quarterback in the league behind Mahomes. But he plays really well even when they lose. And you start to wonder, is this just history repeating itself? So it's a great one. There's no doubt about it. Samter, should I go here or should you go? Do you have a list, just wondering?
I have a list.
Okay, then time out. Let me go. Let me take one off your list, and then we'll get to your list. You're probably good honey-do item list, right? Like your wife gives you a bunch of lists at the supermarket, you get all the items, correct?
Yeah, but the problem is she gives me a list of 5 things. I come home with 20.
Oh, I could see that. Oh, if it's on your credit card, then I guess she doesn't really care, for being honest.
I went to Home Depot to get keys made, and I came back with like $120 worth of Home Depot stuff.
Well, I think snacks is where we see it the most because you do have a sweet tooth. You have a very good palate. But there's a lot of times that Samter will bring in snacks here. And I often now wonder if those snacks are just brought in because, A, you brought something home that your wife didn't want in the house, or you just have so much crap in your house because Samter gets told to get 3 snacks and he brings back 25. So you have to get some of them out of the house, and then you become a very generous person here and benevolent person here, and you just start getting us all fat.
You see right through me.
Yeah, there's always a method to your madness. I know that. I'm going the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, they finally got the monkey off their back in 2023, getting out of the first round. But they have so much talent. The talent is just ridiculous that they have. Their last Stanley Cup victory was in 1967. Think about that. And we know Canada, right, hasn't won a Stanley Cup in the longest time. So you have not only the pressure for the country, but also for your individual franchise. And you have such a talented roster right now. And you just brought in a coach in Craig Berube who won a Stanley Cup in, of all places, St. Louis. All right? This is go time for the Maple Leafs, but for Austin Matthews and also John Tavares, who literally had the captaincy stripped away from him, the two of them with the Maple Leafs, they got to find a way to get the job done because they keep on having 100-point season after 100-point season. You look since 2022, 115 points, 111, 102, 102, and the farthest they've ever gone is the second round. And this even goes back to when Babcock was there. They in 2019 had 100 points. In 2018, they had 105 points as well. You look at the run that they've had from 2017 and on, you would think that group would have a championship, but they don't yet. And they've seen Babcock, they've seen Sheldon Keefe, and now they've seen Craig Berube. So we'll see if the third time could be a charm for Coach Craig Berube. So mine are the Maple Leafs. All righty, what do we got cooking here, Santa?
All right, so over in the NFL, I got a couple names. Dak Prescott is one of those guys who has a big monkey on his back for sure. Jared Goff, just because he's been there and he has like the weight of a city on his shoulders.
But does anyone actually think Dak's ever going to do it? Like, to me, Dak is, if he just gets to I think the monkey on his back is just getting to an NFC title game, for crying out loud, with the Cowboys.
That's certainly part of it. And listen, whether or not people think that he's going to do it or not, that question of his playoff failures continue to be there. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Jared Goff, right? He had a terrible Super Bowl against your Patriots. He had a terrible game last year.
Commanders,
for Detroit. So he's got it. But I think, honestly, even more so than Josh Allen and the Bills.
What sport are you going for?
What's up?
Is this your answer that you're going for?
No. This is just with the NFL. Lamar Jackson, I think, has more of a monkey in his back.
Don't forget the cookies.
Yeah, right? I think he has more than Josh Allen because Lamar has won two MVPs and probably should have won this year too. I think Lamar over Josh Allen.
That's a great question. Who has the larger monkey on their back? Is it Lamar Jackson or is it Josh Allen? I think there's more public spotlight on Josh to win. But for Lamar, you have 3 things now that you got to slay. He's 0-2 against the Bills in the postseason. he's had success in the regular season up against the Chiefs, but hasn't defeated the Chiefs in the playoffs. And just if you get through the AFC, then you got to ball out in the Super Bowl. Where for Josh Allen, it's really just one thing standing in front of you. Yes, you still got to get to the Super Bowl and win it, but it's just been Kansas City that has cost you championships. I think there's more pressure on Josh, and I think Josh gets highlighted more because I think Mahomes-Allen is more of a rivalry than Mahomes-Lamar. But you're right. I think there's multiple dragons that Lamar needs to slay compared to Josh Allen.
Now,
and especially Josh plays really well in the playoffs, too.
Now, do you think the fact that the Ravens have won 2 Super Bowls this century and the Bills haven't won in 30...
helps?
Yeah.
Because you factor in more of the quarterback. It's also with the team. It's like, all right, now you have God at the quarterback position, in jest when I say that, with the Bills. But the Bills franchise has just been so tortured. Yeah, it does change it when you've had 2 Super Bowl championships since 2000, yeah.
The one difference also, though, is like Josh Allen has had success individually, and Lamar has struggled, so there's also that side of it, too.
Yeah,
in the postseason. In the NBA, I think Luka and Embiid are 2 guys who have monkeys on their back. Luka losing in the final.
Embiid.
Yeah, but now that he's in Los Angeles with LeBron, there's probably more of a microscope. He lost in the finals last year, Luka. Embiid for sure, but it almost feels like Embiid's on that downturn.
You know who he is? I said this before. He's Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Now, he's a
both
better,
on my list.
He's a better regular season version of Dak Prescott because Embiid plays at has won an MVP. Dak Prescott, the best you could say is he's played at an MVP level for a year. But yeah, Joel Embiid and Dak, I think there's a lot of similarities. And the Sixers are basically the Cowboys. All drama, and they never win whenever it matters the most, even when they have teams and they have a special player. Who was the player, though, that you said? Oh, Luka. Luka's fascinating because Luka just went to the finals last year, so I think that alleviates some pressure. But now, sure, he didn't win, but it was so miraculous that he got there. I still don't think the public pressure is on Luka right now, even in Los Angeles, because are we really talking about the Lakers as a team that we expect to win a championship? I'm not. So I think that conversation may be more so down the road when Luka becomes the face of the Lakers. I wouldn't even have considered Luka, so it's interesting that you brought it up.
I only really thought about it more in the sense that his reputation took a hit publicly because the Mavs had to get rid of this guy who was fat and lazy and drinking beer. So now he has like something to prove.
But did his reputation really I think everyone just crucifies the Mavericks there. I don't think we look at it as a negative slight on Luka.
Sure, but there's still that narrative out there now that Luka's lazy, Luka doesn't care, Luka's getting overweight, all this stuff.
Bitches to the refs all the time, cries. Sometimes to the fans and then he gets ejected.
So my top 2 choices are from baseball. I was going to go Aaron Judge, but I already went with the Yankee for my monkey off the back. So
typical New York national talk show host Homer.
But I'm going to go with Mike Trout. Mike Trout with multiple MVPs has never won a playoff game.
Yeah.
Not even a series, a game. Mike Trout.
And they actually got off to a good start to the season. And they moved him to
They
right
always
field.
do. And then midsummer, they always just fall back.
Yeah, the AL sucks this year. I was hosted on The Fan yesterday in New York, and people are losing their minds over the Yankees at 8-7. And trust me, the Yankees are not great. I don't know if there's a great team in the AL. The Tigers actually, Scooball's phenomenal. They may be the team to beat, but still, do I feel the Tigers go to the World Series? Probably not. We'll see what happens with the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. The Guardians are always good. The Astros have taken a hit. We'll see what the Rangers do. The Mariners, they have the pitching, but the lineup is never there. And I'm already waving the flag on Trout. I said this for years. As long as Trout stays with the Angels, he's never going to win a thing of any significance. You had Ohtani and Trout. I know Trout's been banged up, but you're right. He's the player of his generation, and he has nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it in terms of championships, so that's a good one. All righty. Who's a player in sports that has a monkey on their back right now, or a team that has a monkey on their back, and you're waiting to see if they could get it off their back? And also, what's one of the best monkey off your back moments that you've seen ever in sports in honor of Rory McIlroy, who had that happen to him yesterday, not only getting his first major championship since 2014, but also completing the career Grand Slam, finally winning at Augusta for the Masters. Steve Sands, by the way, he's still in Georgia. He's going to join us coming up in 40 minutes from now at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. But let's take a break. We'll come on back. We are 10 days away from the NFL draft. Stu's going to take the odds. I'm going to take the evens. We're going to do a Zach Gelb show, top 10 mock draft. And Stu, I don't know for sure, but I think this is going to be the final one that we've done. I think this is version 7.0 or 6.0, something like that. It's either 6 or 7. I think this is going to be the final one that we do because we'll do one in a week. Next week is the draft. There's so much draft coverage on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I don't know if we're going to do a top 10 mock draft where we go back and forth. Maybe I'll just give how I think the top 10 is going to go. So we'll take a timeout. When we come on back, Stu will take the odds. I will take the evens. We'll do the final rendition. Yeah, it'll be the final of the Zach Gelb, Stuart Kovacs top 10 mock draft.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, it's time to ask the pros. You, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. This is either version 6.0 or 7.0. Stu has taken the odds, then I take the evens, and then we reverse the order and, do that multiple times. I think in the rotation, we're up to Stu taking the odds, and I end up taking the evens. So let's get to that right now. There we go. Oh, music. Stu, remember, this exercise, I think we've been doing it this way, but now I'm just going to make it known, since this is the final one. Not how should the draft go, how will the draft go in the top 10? Because I know we both have some issues with some teams, how we think it will go and how it should go. So, Stu, how will the Tennessee Titans select with the number 1 overall pick?
I believe the Titans will go and should go, but will go with Cam Ward out of Miami with the first pick.
I'm in agreement with you there. All righty. What I think should happen and what will happen is drastically different here. If you do not know by this point, well, that's on you, not me. I'll explain it to you at a later date. But the Cleveland Browns picking at 2, I think they will take Travis Hunter, the two-way star, out of Colorado. So next up on the clock are the New York Giants.
Yeah, and again, like you said, what should happen and will happen are different. I think what the Giants will do after signing the 2 veteran quarterbacks is going with Abdul Carter out of Penn State, the pass rusher.
So far, if I was doing this based off how it will go, we are 3 for 3, Stu. So we have done a good job here as partners in this mock draft. Alrighty, next one. Oh, by the way, before I get to the New England Patriots, this mock draft now even has a read. How about that? This NFL draft preview is sponsored by Ego, tools that deliver or exceed the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, and fumes. For any outdoor challenge, count on Ego. Tools to deliver the power, performance, and innovation you need. Ego, power beyond belief. And former Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter is visiting my Patriots today. I want him to be a member of the New England Patriots. But Abdul Carter has already visited the Giants, Browns, and Titans while deciding visits from all other teams outside of the top 4, or declining visits from all other teams outside of the top 4. And I'm in agreement here with Stu. I think the Giants will take Abdul Carter with the 3rd overall pick. So we go to my New England Patriots with the 4th overall pick, and I think they are going to take Will Campbell, the offensive lineman here, out of LSU. So short arms, a little bit of a problem. Fine with me. I would rather grab on to Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter here, but I think the Patriots end up taking Will Campbell with the 4th overall selection. We go to Duval. The Jacksonville Jaguars are standing by with the 5th overall pick. And with that selection, Stu Kovacs.
Yeah, and I think I said last time I feel very, very, very confident about this pick, so I'd be pretty surprised if it is not this guy. I believe it will be Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan.
Here's the thing, because we have been in lockstep, and we've both said that Mason Graham, we feel as if he's going to go to the Jaguars. I feel as if everyone's predicting that. So, could there be a situation when that doesn't happen? Because you know this, 9.9 times out of 10, when everyone thinks something is going to happen, usually the opposite does occur. But so far, Stu, we are 5 for 5 in agreement. I wrote down what I think will happen right before this exercise, and these are the ways that the top 5 picks have gone on my top 10. And with you taking the odds and myself taking the evens, we have hit all 5 on my board. Next up, the Raiders. I think we're going to continue to be in agreement here. Now, you think that they should take Shedeur Sanders in this spot, right?
I do. I think if he's there, I think that's a really good opportunity to get a franchise quarterback.
I'm in agreement with you, but I don't think the Raiders are going to do so. I think they're fine with this 2-year plan, 2 to 3 year plan with Geno Smith, line it up with Pete Carroll, and you could reassess a year from now. I think they're going to look to pair up that face of the offense, which is Brock Bowers right now, with someone that could tote the rock a little bit more, and that's going to be Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. So I have the Raiders taking Ashton Genty. And then we go to pick number 7, and standing by with pick number 7, Stuart Kovacs with the JTS, Jets.
So this is the one where I've kind of considered a few guys. I have a feeling they're going to take Tyler Warren, and I actually think that probably is the right decision as well. Also, what should happen, but I think Tyler Warren is going to kind of jump. He's not going to fall to 12, 13, 14. He's going to be in that 7, 8, 9 range. I think Tyler Warren is the guy for the Jets there at 7.
7 for 7. These 7 picks are, I think the draft will happen. Have you disagreed with anything I said? Because I obviously haven't disagreed with anything you said.
Not at all. It's exactly how I would have done it too.
The executives on FS1 would not be happy with us.
No, not at all.
But we are Infinity Sports Network, but the way that they used to program that Skip Bayless show is just like, just one person agree, one person disagree, and then go at it. All righty. In number 8, the Carolina Panthers. I'm going our 3rd defensive player. It's kind of like 2.5-ish, because Travis Hunter is half defense, half offense. But I'm taking Jalen Walker, the pass rusher out of Georgia, to the Carolina Panthers. In at number 9. Now, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. In at number 9, let's see if we're going to be in lockstep and continue to be in lockstep here. Who that say going to beat them Saints?
So before Friday, my pick would have been different, but with the Derek Carr news that he might be missing the season with a shoulder injury, I do think that the Saints at 9 will go with Shedeur Sanders. I think that will be the guy. I think it's a great opportunity for them with Carr hurt to draft Sanders. And Sanders being there 9, I think, is kind of crazy. So I think the Saints will now take Shedeur Sanders at 9.
That's what I had as well. So let me ask you this. At 10, with Tyler Warren off the board and Ashton Genty off the board, if either are still there, if I'm the Bears, I would scoop one of them up, but they're not. I know the player that I have selected here. And did you agree with Jalen Walker with the Panthers?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So we've been in agreement for the first 9 picks. Who do you think will be 10? Let's see if we go 10 for 10 here.
I would go with Membu, the offensive lineman. I think that the fact that 2 weapons are gone, they'll still try to shore up that offensive line. That's funny.
I took Armin Membu in at number 10. So we have the Tennessee Titans going Cam Ward, the Cleveland Browns going Travis Hunter, the New York Giants going Abdul Carter, the New England Patriots going Will Campbell, the Jacksonville Jaguars going Mason Graham, the Las Vegas Raiders going Ashton Genty, the New York Jets going Tyler Warren, the Panthers going Jalen Walker, the New Orleans Saints going Shedeur Sanders, and then the Bears going Armin Membu. All righty, we will take a break. We'll do onside, offside next. Standing by with the latest sports flash. Here is Ack.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Oh, Mike Budenholzer got only 1 year in Phoenix, and it was a disaster. He has been fired after a 36-46 season in which the Suns finished 11th in the Western Conference, despite having the league's highest paid payroll and also 3 stars on the team. After a 21-win season, the New Orleans Pelicans fired Vice President and GM David Griffin, who was on the job for 6 years and produced 2 postseason appearances. Neither produced a first-round victory. Patrick Peterson announced his retirement of a Hall of Fame career. He was the 5th pick in the 2011 draft and went on to play 10 seasons for the Cardinals, made 8 straight Pro Bowls. He also finished up playing for the Vikings and the Steelers. The WNBA draft takes place tonight with the Dallas Wings holding the number 1 pick, and will use it on UConn star Paige Beckers. The Padres are off to the best start in baseball at 13-3 and open a series against the Cubs, looking for their 5th straight win. They are a perfect 10-0 at home. The Cubs coming off a win and a series victory over the Dodgers as Pete Crow Armstrong, playing in his hometown last night, homered twice in the series finale. The Dodgers fell to 11-6 with the loss. They will host the Rockies tonight. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Using your phone while you're driving could kill someone. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA. Time to get to a little onside, offside. Stu, hit it, maestro.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty. What do we got cooking today, Stu?
All right, so Ashton Genty is a lock to go in the first round and could go as high as 6 to my Raiders. Omarion Hampton from North Carolina is wide regarded as the second best back, but could also go in the first round with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and Cam Skattebo among other possibilities in the first round. Now, Las Vegas has put the over-under at 2.5 running backs selected in the first round. Onsides, offsides, you would take the over on that.
Ooh, it's a great question. Because I think for sure Genty's going to go and Omarion Hampton are going to go. I'm going to say the NFL is a copycat league. Now, it hasn't reflected that way in free agency, but with the success of Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, I know, right, they were a first-round pick and then a second-round pick, and they had these successful careers, more so Henry than Barkley, but then they both had monster seasons this year when signing with new teams. I think towards the end of the first round, we'll get a third running back in there. 2.5 is a great number. That's right there. I can go either way because I was between 2 and 3 and no more. I'll end up taking the over. Betting unders aren't fun anyway, so I'll take the over here. I'll go onside.
So the Lions and Cowboys have a tradition of hosting a game on Thanksgiving. For the past 2 years, the Chiefs have played on Christmas Day and have said that they would like to do that every year. Well, since then, the NFL VP of Broadcasting and Scheduling, Mike North, joined.
Great dude, by the way. I saw him in Philly during, I think it was the Eagles-Packers playoff game.
So he joined the It's Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast to discuss that possibility.
I'm not sure that's going to become a tradition quite the way Thanksgiving is. I mean, think about what it took for that tradition, right? The Lions since the 30s, the Cowboys since the 60s. We didn't commit to a third site on Thanksgiving when we brought that back about 20 years ago. We've rotated that around. I imagine we're going to keep rotating Christmas around too. I'm not sure we'd want to be, married to a site. Never say never, but I don't think we're today going to commit to, a permanent third host for Thanksgiving, a permanent host for Black Friday, or a permanent host for Christmas.
So onsides, offsides, the NFL should assign one team to play on Christmas Day every year.
No, I don't even get why this is a topic of conversation. I understand, right, the Chiefs have wanted it, and then also with Thanksgiving that goes on with the Lions and the Cowboys, but with how new this is, I don't think it should just be one team has to play on Thanksgiving. Like what happened, or on Christmas. Like what happens if the Mahomes run doesn't go as long as we think it's supposed to? And then what happens after Patrick Mahomes too? What happens if the Chiefs go on to sucking? Just because they're the team right now, they're the dynasty team right now, we need to see them each and every day on Christmas? No. The NFL should assign one team to play on Christmas every year. Keep it open, let it rotate. I'm going offside on that one.
Offside.
Nico Iamaleava's time in Knoxville is over as the former 5-star recruit is leaving Tennessee over NIL money. Iamaleava was the number 2 recruit in 2023 and is now the 7th of the top 8 quarterback recruits from his class to transfer, including number 3 Dante Moore, number 4 Jackson Arnold, number 5 Malachi Nelson, and number 6 Jaden Rosada, with Arch Manning being the only one to stay. Onsides, offsides, despite all of the upheaval, you're still okay with the current NIL and transfer portal system.
So this is very vague because I'm pro NIL and transfer portal, but also I have a lot of opinions on things that need to change. I don't think there should be 2 transfer windows. That's for starters. I also would like to see more rules. I would like to see more contracts. Like the fact that Nico Iamaleava allegedly, according to Josh Pate, was trying to get more money out of Tennessee before a playoff game, that's ridiculous. So, yes, I preface this by saying I'm pro NIL, I'm pro transfer portal, but there needs to be changes to the system. There needs to be more rules and more guidelines. So I can't say on sides that I'm okay with the current NIL and transfer portal system because it's the wild, wild west right now. So things need to be tinkered with. I will go offside.
Offside.
So Rory finally completed his career Grand Slam after a dramatic playoff win over Justin Rose at the Masters yesterday. Rory nearly choked the green jacket away, blowing a 6-shot lead with a double bogey and 3 bogeys on the back 9, including a bogey on 18. We remember 2 other big golf chokes. First, John Van de Velde with choking away a 3-shot lead on the 18th in the 1999 Open Championship, and Greg Norman losing a 6-stroke lead in the final round of the 96 Masters. Onsides, offsides, if Rory had lost this year, it would have gone down as the worst choke job in golf history.
I'm going to go offside on that one because he lost the 2-stroke lead through the first hole. Now, he got it back and then some, but he splashed in Rays Creek, which is not something that is, like, uncommon to do. And Rory, one year he was up 4 and he shot like an 80. So we've seen worse from Rory, or just recently when he missed the putt. I know you could say which one because he missed one yesterday. That would have been bad. It would have been in the running, but I don't think it would have gone down as the worst choke job ever. It may be the most demoralizing, though, because that was just a crazy roller coaster ride. But I wouldn't say that it would go down as the worst choke in golf history, but it would be up there. So I go offsides.
Offsides.
The Cavaliers clinched the number 1 seed in the East, finishing 3 games ahead of the defending champion Celtics. However, despite their 64-win season, Cleveland is behind Boston in the title odds, with the Celtics at plus 190 and Cleveland all the way up at plus 575.
It's good value.
Onsides, offsides, you would take the Celtics in a 7-game series over the Cavs right now.
I'm conflicted on this because I've seen the Cavs twice in the last week in person, and I love the story of the Cavs, and I love Kenny Atkinson as a coach. I think people forget up until last year, the Celtics with this group got so close but yet so far so many times. And then they finally broke through last year. I think with Jason Tatum not playing at his best last year, that's even more motivation. So I would still lean the Celtics, but part of me wants to take the Cavs, especially at plus 575. But I keep on saying this, so I'll continue to stay by it. Until someone takes down the Celtics, I'm not going to pick against the Celtics out of the Eastern Conference. So you would take the Celtics in a 7-game series over the Cavs right now. Yeah, onsides.
Sticking in the NBA, the Warriors were rising up in the standings after their trade for Jimmy Butler, but have since cooled down and fell all the way into the play-in game after yesterday's dramatic loss to the Clippers. Now as the 7th seed, Golden State will have to win 1 game to make the playoffs and will face either number 1 Oklahoma City or number 2 Houston in the first round. Onsides, offsides, if the Warriors make the playoffs, you would pick them over both OKC and Houston.
Oh, over OKC? Absolutely not. Over Houston? Absolutely. So if the Warriors make the playoffs, you would pick them over both OKC and Houston. The "and" part being the big word there, I would go offside because I would pick OKC over the Warriors. I would not pick Houston over the Warriors. But let's look at these play-in tournament games, right? Because Adam Silver, right, the greatest thing ever is this play-in tournament. Yeah, worked with Jimmy Butler. Yeah, Steph's there. It's okay, right? And LeBron. Does anyone need to see more of the Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls, or the Heat? No, 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 and no. Does anyone need to see more of the Golden State Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Sacramento Kings, and the Dallas Mavericks? All right, I want to see more of the Golden State Warriors, I'll be fair. Well, there's this great idea that after the regular season, who the 8 best teams are in the West and the East just usually make the playoffs. That's how it used to be. Well, the Warriors right now would be the 7th. So now the Warriors need to either beat the Grizzlies or they could lose and then beat the winner of Sacramento or Dallas to get in the postseason. Is that stuff necessary? Absolutely not. So I know I already answered your question, but you sent me off on a tangent because this play-in tournament love, people, you soccer NBA lovers are all like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Nonsense. Trash. Trash. It's ass. That's what it is. It's Scott Farrell come back and host on this network there for a second? All righty, what do we got?
So today, the Suns fired head coach Mike Budenholzer after one disastrous season, as questions lingers about his future, as well as the stars Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Now, Kevin Durant specifically has been linked with a variety of teams, including the Warriors, Rockets, Heat, Timberwolves, and Knicks. Onside offsides, Kevin Durant will be on the Knicks next season.
No. I think Leon Rose is too intelligent to hand the franchise over to Kevin Durant, and I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze anymore with Kevin Durant. And I think the Suns are going to want picks. Now, could they want Mikal Bridges? I still think it's more likely that if the Suns are going to trade someone to the Knicks, it would be Devin Booker, because I think Leon Rose would rather have Devin Booker over Kevin Durant. I think that would be an unnecessary move and a move that's not needed for the Knicks. So Kevin Durant will be on the Knicks next year. I'm against that. I would go offside.
Offsides.
Final question.
And last one. During last night's Cubs-Dodgers game, Chicago shortstop Nico Horner was mic'd up and was actually doing an on-field interview while the game was going on. Well, as could be predicted, a ball was hit in Horner's direction right in the middle of a question from ESPN's Carl Ravitch, and the pop-up fell between Horner and two outfielders.
Center fielder for the Dodgers tonight was a teammate of mine in college, played short my freshman year, and I played second, so amazing to see all the success he's had here.
All right, well, you just opened up Pandora's box, because we have to find out about a difficult play, and obviously Nico Horner was involved in it. I tell you one thing, I was about to start saying, somebody call it, but I didn't want to interfere with anything that was going on.
All right, so onsides, offsides. Baseball needs to nix in-game interviews.
For the All-Star game, I'm fine with it. For a regular season game, and I'm all about showcasing the personalities of these players more, but they usually suck on this Sunday night broadcast. They're terrible. So I'm good without them. I really am. You have availability before the game, after the game. Do we need availability in games that actually matter during the game, when the interviews usually stink anyway, even though you said this one was going well? I don't think so. So baseball needs the Knicks, the in-game interviews. Keep them for the All-Star game, but outside of that, yeah, get rid of them for everything else. So I would go more onsides than offsides on that one. Steve Sands from the Golf Channel will join us next. It is the Zach Gelb Show. Hour number 3 of our radio program, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hour number 3 of our radio program, Rockin' and Rollin'. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's head out to the guest line right now. We're talking about the biggest story of the day, and that was the Masters from yesterday, where Rory McIlroy not only won his first ever green jacket, he did complete the career Grand Slam, and someone that was on the grounds yesterday at Augusta National was no other than Steve Sands from the Golf Channel, and he's kind enough to jump on board with us for a few minutes right now. Sandsy, appreciate the time as always. Thanks for doing this, and how you been?
I'm doing great, Zach. My pleasure. Always great to be with you, bud. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. I know it's a busy day for you. It's almost 24 hours after Rory McIlroy was able to capture that green jacket yesterday. There were some highs. There were definitely some lows. If you were rooting for Rory, I probably said he was going to win and lose about 3,000 times yesterday. But when you get a moment to digest it and process it, how do you kind of put it into words what you saw yesterday?
Pretty much what you just said. I mean, that was a lot of pendulum swings there, man. It was a wild ride. There was some really great golf. I mean, the second shot at 15, the second shot at 17, the wedge at 18, and the first playoff hole. I mean, some great shots. But my goodness, there were some mistakes as well. And the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. It's one of the things that makes major championship golf so great. It's one of the things that makes Masters Sunday so great. And yesterday was an epic roller coaster ride for sure.
I guess for him to finally exercise those demons at that golf course, he probably had to do it this way, it feels like, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's never easy anyway. I mean, nothing's easy. Even when Tiger was winning all those majors, it wasn't easy. But But Rory tends to make it a little bit more dramatic than it needs to be sometimes, and that's okay. There's a big difference between Tiger, Jack, and the rest of the all-time greats. Tiger and Jack kind of plodded their way along. Didn't seem like there were a lot of car wrecks, a lot of really, really bad stuff en route to wins. They didn't win every time, but when they did win, it didn't seem like there were a lot of mistakes like there were from Rory yesterday. And Rory tends to be more like a Phil Mickelson or like an Arnold Palmer. You're talking about three of the greatest players in the history of the sport. And it just tends to go up and down, and there are a lot of emotions involved, a lot of great, great shots, and a couple of really, really bad ones that make you shake your head if you're a Rory fan and go, oh my gosh, here we go again. But this time he recovered, and all credit to him. He played some fabulous golf when he really, really, really had to.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because how the day started, he double bogeyed to start the fourth round on Sunday, and he lost instantly that two-stroke lead. But then he clearly recovered, and it looked like he was going to run away from it. And like you mentioned, then it all changed. When he missed that 5-foot putt on 18 that would have won in the tournament, and it felt like momentum clearly shifted to Justin Rose, who was waiting after having that great final round at Augusta. Were you confident? Did you feel like Rory would have the mental toughness to prevail in the playoff, or did you kind of think that Justin Rose was going to get the job done?
It's weird. I actually thought he was going to miss the putt in regulation, and there was going to be a playoff. After Justin Rose made that birdie at 18, I remember thinking, okay, at the same time, McIlroy was making a birdie at 17 to take a one-shot lead. And then when he hit the fairway in regulation, I remember thinking, well, this is going to be a wedge. He's going to two-putt. He's going to win the Masters by one in regulation. And he put that wedge into a bunker right, and it was really, really, really challenging from that point on. When he lined up for the putt in regulation, Zach, I remember thinking, he's going to miss this. For whatever reason, when they got to the playoff, I thought Rory's going to win. I have no idea why. Even when he had that putt to win after Rose missed his putt in the playoff, I remember thinking, wow, this one better go in. But I always thought in the playoff that he was going to win it. So, who the heck knows? But that was as wild a ride as we've seen in a long, long time at Augusta for a full day. It's been wild for years. There's a lot of stuff, but I'm talking from the jump, man. It was a crazy, crazy day. It was cool.
And in that playoff, that second shot, that's how I'm going to remember it, because, man, with all that he went through the day, to be able to put a shot up like that, that eventually, essentially won in the tournament, it was just impressive with all the lows that were there during that moment and during that fourth and final round for Rory at Augusta.
Well, Zach, think about it. That's the same club he hit in the water at 13. Same club he hit in the water, hit in the bunker on 18 in regulation. And then he hit a great one with the same club in the playoffs. So, how athletes reset and how they go about their business has always fascinated me. And for him to have such disappointment on the 18th in regulation and then come right back in the playoff and win it. Look, the second shot he hit at 15 around the tree onto the green, two-putter. He missed the putt for eagle, by the way, two-putter for birdie. That came after he hit the wedge at 13 in the water. And then at 17, he hit a beautiful wedge and made a birdie from a couple of feet. And then on 18, he hit a terrible wedge. And then in the playoff on 18, he hit a great wedge. So it's how athletes are able to recover, how they have perseverance and resilience is amazing. And he had a lot of guts yesterday. He did not play razor-sharp golf by any means, but he had the guts to get through it. I'm so happy for him. It was an amazing moment, historic moment in golf.
And you cover stories through your job at the Golf Channel, as Steve Sansanzi is here with us the day after Rory McIlroy completed the career Grand Slam and captured his first ever green jacket at Augusta. Sometimes golfers, they don't do the best job, we don't, in showcasing the emotion, and they could be very guarded. The moment he sunk that putt on the playoff to win the tournament and capture the green jacket in the Grand Slam, man, the outpour of emotion, just as a sports fan and a human being, was really cool to see.
Zach, I'm telling you what, man, I've said this for a long time. The individual nature of golf makes it different than team sports. You and I are massive sports fans. We like all sports. Golf is different than every other sport, even tennis on the individual nature, because in tennis, it's just mano-a-mano. In golf, you're going up against not just the person you're playing in the group with, but everybody else in the field. So when he sunk that putt, that 11-year burden, his lifelong journey was met. his 11-year burden of trying to not just win the Masters, but become the 6th player in the history of men's golf to win the career Grand Slam. There are more players in tennis on the men's and women's side who have won the career Grand Slam. So you could make a case, Zach. You could make a strong case that joining the club of career Grand Slam champions in golf is the single most difficult thing to achieve in all of sports. You could make that argument, and that's what Rory had on his shoulders. That was the burden he had, and that was a heavy, heavy lift for 11 years. It's been 11 years, not since he won, trying to win the career Grand Slam. It's been 11 years since he won a major. He hasn't won a major since August of 2014. He's an all-time great player, best player of his generation, and he'd gone 11 years. By the way, from ages 24, Zach, to 35, right in his prime. It wasn't like he was at the end of his career. So who knows if this opens the door for him to have a lot more, or who knows if he just kind of rests on his laurels. I would not bet on him resting on his laurels.
Well, that's the thing. It's because if, let's say, he would have won the U.S. Open or the Open Championship or the PGA Championship, we would all laud him, right, for winning a major championship and overcoming the 11-year drought. But then eventually the commentary would be, can he find a way in what would have been the 12th year if he didn't win yesterday to get the job done at Augusta? And that's what makes it so cool that you had both moments together. He breaks his major championship drought of 11 years and completes a career Grand Slam. That's what made it awesome for me.
Oh, without question. I mean, they go hand in hand. I mean, only Gene Sarazen has won the Masters to complete the career Grand Slam. And no offense to old Gene, but 1935 is a little different than 2025, and just some of the pressures and just a little different than it was back then. That thing was only started in 1934, so it really wasn't the Masters just yet. It's not discounting what Gene did, but I'm just saying it's been that long since someone did it at the Masters. And the Masters is the one major that goes back to the same venue every year. It's the most prestigious, it's the most elegant, most graceful, and it's the biggest event in the sport. Sunday at the Masters is the biggest day in the game. And Rory, did he come up big at the end? 100%. Did he come up big throughout the whole day, throughout the whole week? Not always, but he played the best of anybody. He was the best of anybody. He's a deserving champion, and my gosh, did he do something yesterday and this past week that will go down in the history books. It's an astonishing thing that he did, and I'm betting on him playing very, very well the rest of the year and really taking off. Once he, puts the glasses and bottles down and relaxes a little bit after a couple of days of celebrating, which he should, I think he's going to get right back to work, and we'll see him in a month at the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, and he'll be the favorite going into that week.
Steve Sands here with us from the Golf Channel. Let me get to Bryson, because going into yesterday, even though he was 2 strokes off the share of the lead, and then they were dead even after the first hole, I just thought that Bryson was going to find a way with how cool and calm he is and how much his public kind of image has changed. Were you stunned that Bryson wasn't more of a player yesterday with the way that it looked like it was going to get started after the first hole?
The only reason I wasn't stunned, and the only reason I thought Rory was going to win before the day, is because Bryson was doing it with smoke and mirrors. He was chipping and putting like a god the first 3 days, and he was not hitting his irons well. And everybody thinks about the greens at Augusta, Zach, and the putting at Augusta. It's the second shots that win you the Masters. Second shots to get it close to holes like 17 and then the playoff for McIlroy. Bryson didn't give himself enough opportunities. He just didn't give himself as many chances as you need to make birdies because his iron play was off all week. Some guys, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. He was on it with everything else in his game except for those second shots. His iron play was substandard all week. He knew it. He worked on the range every night trying to fix it, but sometimes you just don't have it. And I didn't think that could, and it almost never does, hold up over 4 days, especially when the pressure rises to its height, which is Sunday in this sport. And you can get away with it on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You cannot get away with that on Sunday. And he went the wrong way. He made a couple of bad decisions, but he made more bad swings than bad decisions. And he played well enough to get himself in contention, but not nearly well enough to win.
How about Justin Rose? 10 birdies on a Masters Sunday. No one was talking about him, even though he was the day one leader after Thursday. But heading into Sunday, right, he was what, 5 under, I believe. To see what he did and how he almost won this thing man, you talk about how the legacy would have shifted for him already having a major championship. If he would have got a green jacket as well, that would have definitely moved him up in the way that we view him, even though he has a pretty good spot right now.
44 years of age, Justin would have been the second oldest winner in Masters history to Jack Nicklaus, who was 46 in 1986. He was right there, coming in second to Xander Schauffele at the Open Championship 9 months ago. That was the last major played, and now he's right there again. First round leader, second round leader, third round he shot 75, played terribly, but he recovered and shoots a 66, 9 better on Sunday, made that birdie at 18 to apply the pressure to Rory, which is all you're really looking for when you're playing outside of the last group. And Justin Rose played awfully well. You talk about a U.S. Open at Marion in Philadelphia, talk about a gold medal in Rio in the 2016 Olympics. If he would have added a green jacket, he would have been a shoo-in. I still think he's going to get a lot of votes and might end up being in the Hall of Fame. He would have been a shoo-in to be in the Hall of Fame. He only would have been the third player from England to ever win the Masters. Danny Willett in 2016, Nick Faldo did it 3 times. I mean, it would have been historical stuff. 10 birdies on Sunday at the Masters, Zach. I mean, geez, that's saying something.
So I know this wasn't a filet mignon type of story at the Masters, but it was a big story Friday through the first 2 days. This Jose Luis Ballester, the amateur, that you usually don't want to find Race Creek at Augusta, but he needed to go to the bathroom. I was having fun with it on the air because how many times am I with my buddies? You're playing golf, you got to go to the bathroom, and you go basically into the woods. I get it, right? This is Augusta. This is the tradition. But what was the talk kind of around the tournament amongst the patrons and the people in the golf community with what happened with Jose Luis Ballester?
Yeah, I don't know whether he lost his mind or because that could happen in the Masters. Yeah. You know, people go to Augusta and they lose their minds. I get that. He looked around, didn't see a porta-john, and one of the advantages of being a man is being able to just, you know,
go
when you want, go wherever. and he went wherever, and I'm not sure Race Creek at Augusta National while you're playing the Masters is the correct play. But, you know, for ingenuity, I give him a 10 out of 10. For smarts, I'd probably go a little bit less than 5. That was a tough play. But, you know, I think people laughed about it. They told him about it. They talked to him, and you can't do that. I mean, like, you know, you don't want to do that. That's not something you're looking to do.
While I have you here, Steve Sands, I know you're a huge fan of the Commanders, and I also know you're a huge fan of the Capitals. What was more enjoying for you this year, the Commanders' run or seeing Ovi move past Wayne Gretzky for the most career goals in the history of the NHL?
Oh, man, Zach, your father, Bob, and everybody at Pine Forest taught you well if you're going to ask a question that great. I mean, how oh, man. I
this
mean,
is like picking who's your favorite kid. Is it Brian? Is it Eric? Is it Scott? Like, that's what it is right now.
Well, right now our favorite son is Eric because he's the only one who ever comes home because he's still in college. The other two, you know, Val Sands doesn't love the other two as much because they don't come home as often. They don't call as often as they used to. So,
yeah.
But, look, the Ovechkin record is something that's been building for years, and it was special, and I followed every single day of it, and it was amazing, and he's the greatest team sport athlete in my hometown of all time. There's no question about that. That was amazing. The joy I get, they've been good for 20 years, though, the Caps. He's been great for 20 years. The joy that me and my family and all Commanders fans got this season is something we haven't had in a long, long time. So I would say that run, that joy was more, but the Ovechkin run and the Ovechkin record, I think the way he handled it, I'm sure you've talked about this, the class and the grace in which he handled it, the joy in which he was playing, the incredible greatness, Gretzky being involved in it, the NHL doing the right thing, the Caps doing the right thing, opposing fans giving him ovations when he would score on the road. I mean, I think people realize he's breaking one of the most sacred records in all of sports. I realize hockey is 4 of 4 in the United States, but I think people have they kind of have an appreciation for greatness. And, you know, look, Wayne Gretzky held that record, and it was an impossible record to break, seemingly, and Ovechkin broke it. And they didn't nickname Wayne Gretzky the pretty good one. They nicknamed him the great one. And here's Ovechkin now sitting on top of him, by the way, in the same amount of games, which is insane if you think about it. And I thought it was cool. The only thing missing, Zach, the only thing missing from that is that he did it on Long Island, and he didn't do it in D.C. I mean, if you did it at home, it would have been much, much better, but it doesn't matter when he did it, where he did it. The fact is that he did do it. Now let's refocus and go try to win another Stanley Cup. They're good. Caps are pretty good.
Yeah, it's amazing with what they did from last year to this year. It's unbelievable to see how they're playing. And I'm very proud of you that you said on Long Island and not in Long Island. That's a very good job out of you. One more, Steve Sands from the Golf Channel. Safe to say, when you look at your pantheon of sports heroes right now, right? You got Jaden Daniels up there. You obviously also have Alexander Ovechkin. I'm assuming that Kevin Willard is no longer on there, correct?
No, I like Kevin. Kevin's a friend. I like Kevin a lot. I think in private, he probably would say his exit was not as clean as he would have liked. Look, I am not a fan. We get taught by, look, your father, Boomer, probably taught you this when you were a kid too. By the way, it is on Long Island. You're not in an island. You're on an island.
100%.
I mean, come on now. So I think that, what do I think about Kevin Willard? I think the exit was ugly, and I don't think he had to do what he did. I don't think he had to say what he said out loud. But everything in college sports right now is so screwy. It's so transactional. Our parents taught us when we were kids, Zach, me, you, and everybody else who had good parents, you don't burn the house down on the way out. You don't burn bridges. And I don't know why he decided to do that, but he's a friend. I like him. I think he's a heck of a coach. I wish he would have stayed and, got Maryland all the way to the Final Four, national championship status, but he wanted to move along. I just wish he didn't move along in the manner in which he did. But I think privately over a couple of beers, he would probably say to you, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. But it's okay. He's a tough, like you, he's a tough New York, New Jersey kid.
Safe travels. Have a good flight, Sandsy. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, Zach, you're the best.
There he is, Steve Sands, joining us from the Golf Channel the day after Rory McIlroy not only wins the green jacket, but completes the career Grand Slam. We'll take a break. You'll hear from Rory on the other side. We will also get back into the Nico Iamaleava situation and have a few more things to touch on in not only the college football world, but the NBA as well. We got a loaded news brief next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Most of you heard it on TV. Let's hear how it sounded on the radio. The Masters on Sirius XM. This is the play-by-play, courtesy once again of the Masters on Sirius XM, of Rory McIlroy winning it all at the 2025 Masters.
3 feet, McIlroy walks up to the ball, gets over it for history with one look. Rory back and through, and he's made it! He's done it! It's a Grand Slam roar at Augusta National! Rory McIlroy on his knees, bent down in emotion, clutching his head. He's won the Masters. He's won all the Grand Slam events. He's the 6th in the history of the game to enter golf's greatest group.
So I think it's pretty obvious who it was on that call. Can you tell me who it is, Stu? Just wondering.
I just said to Mike, is that Tirico?
Yep.
It is Tirico. Okay, we weren't sure. It does sound a lot like him.
It is Mike Tirico. I know he does golf for the Masters. I forgot that he did it on the radio, but then when you hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, Tirico does golf for the Masters on the radio. I've heard those calls before through the years. But you don't think of golf with Mike Tirico. You think of, obviously, football with Mike Tirico. And Tirico's done some NBA too. And he's done more and more this year because one of those deals, I think on the new NBC deal, he's the lead voice, I believe, or something like that. So you get Tirico on golf. But when he started whispering, I'm like, who the heck is that? And I'm like, oh, it's Mike Tirico. Because then he starts speaking as he would normally start to speak when he's announcing something. Here is Rory McIlroy elated after winning the Masters.
You're happy. I gotta go get a green jacket.
That's awesome. That's great. Here's Rory McIlroy trolling the media after his Masters press conference.
You've now completed the career Grand Slam. Please share with us your thoughts at this moment.
I'd like to start this press conference with a question myself. What are we all going to talk about next year?
If I wanted to be a jackass and I was at that press conference, hey, Rory, I got a follow-up. If you would have lost, would you have talked to the media today? That's what I would have asked. I would have been very curious what the answer would have been from Rory McIlroy. Let's go to Sirius XM. Rory McIlroy, did he believe he'd ever win the Masters?
Yeah, deep down I did. Deep down I did think. Did I have my doubts from time to time? Absolutely. But deep down I always believed that I had the game to win here at Augusta. And I think today, I've proved over the years that I've had the game, but did I have it up here in the head, and did I have the fortitude to get over the line? And it was touch and go at times today, but thankfully I was able to get the job done.
That Irish accent is very underrated. Stu, is there a way that you could isolate, I know this is on the fly, when he says doubts? I've never heard doubts said the way that he said it. Maybe it was just my headphones, but it sounded very interesting, especially with that accent. So we'll give Stu a few extra seconds. So he's probably going to find it through the clip. And then we will get back to this very, 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 very compelling edition of the news brief when it comes to the Masters. And I'm still trying to give Stu a few extra seconds here as we're putting Stu on the spot. And I don't know if I can still throw in another audio clip as Stu's trying to search through this one and find where he says doubts, because he doesn't even say like he says doubts.
Of my doubts.
That sounds like he says darts.
Of my doubts.
Sounds like he combined farts, darts, and doubts there.
Of my doubts.
Well, he definitely had doubts, that's for sure. And when he doubled bogey to start off the tournament and he's even, and then he got that lead, start off the fourth round, and he got that lead back, and then he just started to crumble. It was all-time euphoria to all-time low, and then back to euphoria with the chance to win the Masters, and then he missed the putt, and you go into the playoff, and he found a way to get the job done. So those darts, farts, doubts, whatever, I guess are now out the window now. One more, Rory McIlroy, burden of never winning the Masters.
I've carried that burden since August 2014. It's been 11 years. It's nearly 11 years. I'm not just about winning my next major, but the career Grand Slam, trying to join a group of 5 players to do it. Watching a lot of my peers get green jackets in the process.
Let me ask a question here, because this sets up our next audio clip from Bryson DeChambeau, and it has to do with Rory McIlroy. Samter, if you've never won a Masters before, and that's the missing thing on your resume is to win the Masters to complete the career Grand Slam, and you were paired up with someone who's 2 strokes behind you and is viewed as your main competition, and you guys are playing the same game together, you guys are paired together, that's the final Masters grouping was Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau. If you were Rory with all that pressure, would you be talking to Bryson throughout the round? You got to walk 18 holes with someone. Would you be talking to him at all?
Oh, yeah. Like every other word out of my mouth would be right at Bryson DeChambeau. Of course not. You got to be focused in. Think Tiger's having conversations on like a Masters Sunday with his red shirt on? Of course not.
Stu, would you at all have one conversation?
No way. I'm just focusing on the game and trying to win the tournament.
I think I am. Now, I'm not saying like you have to be happy-go-lucky and talking Bryson DeChambeau's ear off, but not just like, one good shot or, interesting approach or something. Like, there's not one little comment that you make or, hey, how you doing? You just show up and you don't even talk to the guy all throughout the day. So Bryson DeChambeau said he didn't talk to Rory at all in the final round.
Did you speak to him in there? How's he doing? Do you know?
No idea. Didn't talk to me once all day.
What was the atmosphere like at everything?
Electric. I loved it, but he was just like, just being focused, I guess. So it's not me, though.
Bryson DeChambeau is more my type of guy than Rory McIlroy. Rory was so nervous, and I get it. Bryson was terrible. He stunk yesterday. But he's there to kind of have a good time. And he's won 2 major championships. I like the personality. I used to think he was a jerk. But the last 2 years, I like the personality of Bryson DeChambeau. Let's go to Josh Heupel, the coach at Tennessee. He said goodbye to Nico Iamaleava. Here was Josh Heupel finally addressing the Nico Iamaleava situation because Nico wanted more money, and Tennessee said basically, go kick rocks as we move along from you as we continue to chant good old Rocky Top. Here's Josh Heupel.
Today's landscape of college football is different than what it has been. It's unfortunate, just the situation and where we're at with Nico. I want to thank him for everything that he's done since he's gotten here. That's as a recruit to who he was as a player and how he competed inside of the building. And so a great appreciation for that side of it. Obviously, we're moving forward as a program without him. I said it to the guys today. There's no one that's bigger than the power T, and that includes me. And they hear me say that a lot inside of that team room. This program's been around for a long time with a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players that came before that laid the cornerstone pieces, the legacy, the tradition that is Tennessee football. It's going to be around a long time after I'm done and after they're gone. And that's what's special about being here, is that there is a legacy and a tradition that is so rich, and a logo that's recognized not just across the nation but across the world too. And today you got a chance to see 110 guys that ran out and competed their butts off, that give their all for Tennessee and do it the right way. And really proud of the spring that they've had, but also how they culminated it as well. So excited about where we're at this point.
So 2 things here. If I could talk to Josh Heupel, I would say, hypothetically, Coach, if Arch Manning was your quarterback and he wanted $2 more million, would you have found a way to get him $2 more million? Because not wanting to give him $2 more million, I know you could say, oh, no one's bigger than the program, but it also means you didn't think he was worth it. That's one thing. The second thing as well is the second window opens up April 16th and closes on April 25th. Now, if you enter this portal during this time of the year and you're in the SEC, for SEC schools only, you can't go join another SEC school. So I'd be curious in the Big Ten, the ACC, these other premier conferences, the Big 12, with Tennessee now being open and having a quarterback vacancy, will anyone jump into this portal that wasn't planning on do so to line up and match up with Josh Heupel at good old Rocky Top? Let's go to Josh Pate of Josh Pate's College Football Show. He said Iamaleava and others nearly held out of college football playoff games because of money.
These are the same people who would tell you players would never opt out of playoff games. If we had more playoff games and less meaningless bowl games, then players won't opt out of playoff games. That same crowd fails to mention that this past December, cats like Nico Iamaleava almost held out of playoff games because they were trying to renegotiate contracts in the middle of a playoff run. He wasn't the only one. But just understand, all these people who cannot take a without getting the front of their pants wet, that claim to know what's best for this sport and claim to be visionaries, and boy, they can type a lot of words per minute, can't they? They have not the slightest clue what's best for this sport.
Well, the portal shouldn't be open as the season's still going on. And that's the nasty part of it. I'm all for getting your most money possible, but if you're going to say after playing a full season, oh, I'm not going to play in a playoff game unless if you give me more money, I don't think that's good in terms of NIL and transfer portal, and I'm more pro that stuff. That wasn't the intent behind why players are now getting paid and why you have the ability to transfer. If you're talking about playoff games, you have a guy like Nico Iamaleava asking for more money before a playoff game, that's where I think the system's rotten. Let's go to Brian Kelly with his LSU family. He had to comment on the SEC family when it comes to Tennessee and the Nico Iamaleava situation. Here is Coach Brian Kelly talking about a member of his SEC family.
Well, I think we're in this period of adjustment, right? I mean, I think there's changes coming in NIL. I think this is the first version of corrections, maybe. But I think that there's going to be other situations that come, and we're just going to have to, do the best we can. I think there's going to be better information out there that will allow people to look at comps for positions and say, that makes sense, that doesn't make sense, and it'll allow us to navigate this a lot more reasonably moving forward, for good or bad. People can make decisions. If you want to pay X, then that's what you can do. But I think this is the natural course that would happen when there weren't many guidelines out there. Moving forward, I think with the House settlement and potentially a clearinghouse for NIL, I think we'll see a better place as we continue to move forward.
I would love to know week to week in the football season if Brian Kelly changed his voice as much. Because at first I thought that wasn't Brian Kelly when he was speaking. And then I'm like, oh no, that is Brian Kelly. Every time he opens his mouth, he sounds different. Here is Fran Brown. He jokes about Syracuse hiring him.
John and Amy Wildhack. John, I don't know how you had those balls to hire me, but thanks for doing that. That was crazy, right? John's been able to do it. I mean, thanks though, right? I don't know if I would have did it, but I appreciate you doing that, right?
Fran Brown is an awesome recruiter. He has a mega personality. I knew Fran Brown when he was an assistant at Temple. I didn't think he was mature enough then to become a head coach. He has grown up a lot recently, and I thought the time at Georgia was massive for him. If he has 2 more successful seasons at Syracuse, he could get a big-time job because that dude has a rock star personality. Let's go to Draymond Green on what went wrong for the Warriors in a loss to the Clippers.
I completely smoked the layup, and Buddy missed the shot.
Was it the shot that he wanted? You guys wanted?
Yes. That was the play that was drawn up, and we got the look. He just missed it. GP made a good play in the pocket, and I smoked the layup.
And let's go to Steph Curry and falling into the playing game.
You have to take the positives of where we were 2 months ago and know our season isn't over. So we would have loved to have, taken advantage of these last 4 games. And you look at that San Antonio game as one that was a tough beat, but, you have to be able to wash it down the drain quick.
And then finally, I was involved in this conversation. I don't know what the answer is going to be. And I didn't have the conversation with Jaylen Brown, but this goes back to something that happened on my show. When we talk about who's the best point guard ever, Stu, who do you think is the best point guard ever in the history of the NBA?
I think it's still Magic Johnson, but it's close. It's getting closer between him and Steph.
Samter?
Magic.
Ack, greatest point guard ever?
Not even close, Magic.
Okay. So I think it was Gilbert Arenas who said Steph Curry's the greatest point guard of all time, or maybe Steph said it on Gilbert Arenas' show, I forget. And I asked Magic Johnson about that, and Magic lost his mind over it in a good way. I thought it was great radio, and he started listing off all his statistics and why he's better than Steph Curry. I would still lean that it is Magic Johnson, especially when you guard 1 through 5 in terms of positions, too. I would go Magic, even though I think Steph's a top 10 player of all time. I have not heard this yet. This is on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. Jaylen Brown asked, who's the best point guard ever?
I'm gonna go Steph. I think Steph is the greatest PG of all time.
All right, let's book Magic Johnson back on the show. Let's just recreate and recycle things that we've done in the past that have been successful and it will continue to be successful in the future.
I want an addendum to my choice, though, because I made that pick on Magic or Steph Curry. It's Magic. It's a tie, probably. Magic and Oscar Robertson.
Okay.
So, yes.
Gotcha. So you would go, who would you pick between Magic and the Big O?
It's tough. I like Magic only, even though the Big O was so physically imposing, but Magic was a never-seen-before guy and when he came on the scene. No 6'9" guy could do what he did.
All right, fair enough. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I think Magic's the greatest point guard of all time. Where do you put Steph Curry then in your rankings around?
Is he really the game has changed so much where he's the
greatest shooter I've ever seen.
Yeah, he transformed the game in a different way. He brought that 30-foot shot in. But, a point guard, I'm still in the traditional mode of point guards. He's a point guard, shooting guard /
By the way, social media can ruin something that you think is awesome, and it could provide you the truth at times.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we think social media sometimes being mad and being a bunch of lies from time to time. So remember a few weeks ago when Steph Curry had that full court shot in warm-ups, one-handed, and it went in, and everyone went nuts? I saw a TikTok over the weekend. The net moved because the ball hit the net, but the ball didn't go through the hoop. Totally just ruined a great moment for me. Well, we all thought it was good, and then it's like, oh, no, actually it wasn't. So in a weird way, I guess that's the good of social media, even though I also say it's the bad of social media, too. Because I wanted to believe that Steph Curry made that shot. It was like that they used to show that dress as a blue or gold or whatever it was. Did the Steph Curry shot really go in? Well, it didn't. All right, latest update. We'll come on back. We'll talk a little Suns and Katie to wrap up the show. Update time first. Here is Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, speaking of those Suns, their season turned into a disaster, an 11th place finish in the Western Conference despite Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. Mike Budenholzer pays the price. He's out after just one season in which they went 36 and 46. The Pelicans wasted no time getting ready for the offseason, firing head of basketball operations David Griffin after 6 seasons. The team went to the playoffs only twice in that span. Zion Williamson turned out to be no lottery prize for the team, playing only 45% of their games. They are reportedly zeroing in on Louisiana native and former Pistons GM Joe Dumars. Patrick Peterson retired after a Hall of Fame career. He was the 5th pick by the Cardinals in 2011 and spent 10 of his 13 NFL seasons in Arizona, going to 8 straight Pro Bowls. It is very early, but it appears baseball's toughest division is the NL West, which has 3 teams with at least 11 wins. And leading the way are the Padres, whose 13-3 start is the best in baseball. They'll send Cy Young candidate Dylan Cease to the mound tonight against the Cubs. The defending champion Dodgers will host the last-place Rockies. And the 11-4 Giants open the second leg of their 10-game road trip in Philadelphia. I'm Rich Ecker.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
It's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Psych Mampter on Twitter, at MoistMikeISN, which I would love to know who he is, by the way. Because the people that follow him are Chris Persianen, who works here, Andrew Kaplan, who works here. Then you have two porn bots, Abe Drinkin, who's a listener to the show, and then this guy, Wolfram Jack, who tweets me all these links all the time, and they're never funny if I'm just being honest. Some of the things that he sends me. So I would really love to meet Psych Mampter. I would one day. But anyway, Psych Mampter says, who is the best golfer amongst the crew? Before I give you his commentary, Stu, how have you ever golfed, just wondering?
Not actual golf. I've done pitch and putt. That's the limit of what I've done.
Okay.
I've never driven. Well, I've done top golf, so that's not true, I guess.
Gotcha. But you've never gone out, played 18 holes,
never.
Drank some beers. I could see Stu after 8 or 9 holes being yeah, I'm good. When I play golf, after 13, 14 holes, I usually say I'm good. But I keep on playing, but I don't need to go play through all 18 holes of golf, if I'm being honest. Samter, how would you rate your golfing abilities? I'm sure you're going to be the greatest golfer ever, right?
I'm just going to say the house that I grew up in, behind our backyard was a little stream.
Oh, yeah, I knew this about you.
And behind that stream was a nationally ranked golf course that we would potentially maybe sneak onto.
Urinate in the creek?
All the time. And we would go fishing. We would
urinate
hit
in
balls,
the creek?
Maybe do that. Yeah. But there weren't spectators around. We'd only do it at night.
Michael Samter by us there.
We may have thrown some parties on the golf course and gotten kicked off. So, but we spent a lot of time on that golf course. So I'll let your imagination run wild with that.
Okay. So Samter, were you a good golfer? You didn't really.
I've never golfed in my life.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wait, you lived on a golf course, but you never golfed in your life? You never played 18? You're kidding.
I've never played 3.
Really?
Yeah, so there was a hole right by my backyard
maybe
that we
on the
would
9th
play.
green at 9 tonight, all right?
There was a par 3 with a water hazard, and, we would hit it off there every now and again, but I'd always hit into the water hazard, so I stopped playing.
So this is sad. I am not a great golfer, but I guess I am the best golfer on the show because I definitely play the most.
You're the only golfer on the show.
I'm starting to get good with my driver. I'm a better irons player, if I'm being honest, but I started to learn how to actually hit the driver. Ironically, the best part of my game is actually my short game. My friends say I'm a very good putter. So, I'm decent. I play quickly, even if I don't play well. And I always have good conversation, so people tend to enjoy to play golf with me.
Is golf for you the event and the winning, or is it the drinking and the camaraderie?
No, I don't need to get messed up on a golf course, but I will from time to time have a few substances when I'm on the golf course. So, yeah, I'll enjoy myself when I'm on the golf course. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's more so just, hanging out with my friends that I grew up with, and we all like to play usually in the summer. And then afterwards, I need an elite barbecue and a pool, all right? That's what I need to do after I play golf. You can submit a question by tweeting at INS Sports at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Stick O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Psych Mamter said, I could see Zach driving the ball well. Big Mike probably destroying his putter in anger. And Stu Kovacs playing great until he takes a smoke break before the back nine. That was the Ask the Pros question of the day. Finally, another one bites the dust out in the desert. We had Monty Williams, Frank Vogel, and now Mike Budenholzer. 3 straight years the Suns have fired coaches in the Kevin Durant era in Phoenix. So in Brooklyn, things didn't go well. This has just been an unmitigated disaster in Phoenix. And it's going to end with KD getting traded this offseason. We know that. I could see KD going to Houston, would be my guess. That's where I think he's going to wind up, especially with the relationship with Ime Udoka. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze anymore. And has there been a truer statement than what Charles Barkley said since leaving Golden State? That Kevin Durant, he's a rider on the bus. He's not the driver on the bus. And that's going to live with him for the rest of his career. His legacy is top 20 player of all time. Don't get me wrong. But there's going to be a little bit of a yeah, but with Durant. And I think in Brooklyn and then also really with the Suns, he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. He should have just embraced that villain role, and he should have never, ever have left the Golden State Warriors. Alrighty, fun show today. Big thanks to Samter, big thanks to Stu, big thanks to Ack, big thanks to each and every one of you, however you do consume the program, whether you watch us on YouTube or you listen to us on the radio or on Sirius. Big thank you to Chael Sonnen for joining us, Steve Sands as well. And we'll be back tomorrow, everybody, at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Have a great Monday evening. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.